Just arrived today. Kid from Long Island now gets to play for his hometown team. And Marcus Stroman, ready to pitch his first game Saturday in Pittsburgh, hopes to join the pantheon of Mets pitchers who have preceded him. This has been a franchise known for its pitchers. From Seaver to Koosman to Gooden to Darling to Cohen. He's out! It has happened! And already Dickey is a 20-game winner. Struck him out. Jacob DeGrom unrelentingly brilliant. At Guaranteed Rate Field in Chicago, the New York Mets play the Chicago White Sox. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com to see how much you could save. By Altice One, enjoy the ultimate all-in-one entertainment experience only at Optimum. By the Bullpen Jackpot Sweepstakes from the New York Lottery. Go to sny.tv/New York Lottery to enter. And by your local Honda dealers, visit one today. Mets got themselves a victory on the south side of Chicago last night. How'd they do it? Well, 11th inning long ball from Jeff McNeil. 11th inning longer ball from Michael Conforto. And a 4-hit game from Ahmed Rosario. Who leads the league in hitting in July? Ahmed does. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Chicago. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling with you today as the Mets go for their 6th straight win as they take on the White Sox. The trading deadline came and went today, and the Mets made no more deals. Zach Wheeler's still a Met. Noah Syndergaard's still a Met. Todd Frazier is still a Met. Marcus Stroman is now a Met. And the Mets, 5 games out on the wild card, looks like they're trying to go for it.
Well, who knows what goes on behind closed doors, but I think the remedy, or what you're going to see for the Mets coming up, for them to try to get back in this playoff bid, is that their starters are going to have to pitch like a quintet, like they never have in the history of this recent franchise. The record has been great. Starters ERA is great. Bullpen ERA is a little deceptive because until you get Diaz and Familia working like they've worked in the past, and it's going to be tough for that bullpen to hold up.
Well, Marcus Stroman is a good piece to add, but the best piece goes tonight for the Mets. Jacob DeGrom is in Cy Young form right now.
He really is. It was a very interesting game in his last start. He faced a young team. He threw 57 sliders. That was over half of the pitches he threw in that game. He's facing another young, right-handed dominating lineup tonight.
DeGrom had the best ERA in the majors last year. Lucas Giolito had the worst, but Giolito is an all-star this year.
Yeah, but he's really picked it up this year. He made a lot of mechanical adjustments. He has 2 different changeups that are very difficult to hit. It'll be fun to watch him pitch tonight.
He's been struggling recently since the All-Star break. Mets try and keep it rolling tonight on the south side of Chicago. Mets and White Sox. All the action coming your way tonight on SNY. Marcus Stroman arrived here in Chicago today to join his new team wearing number 7. Talked to the media earlier today, and he sat down with Steve Gelbs to talk about the last few days.
Gary, thanks a lot. Marcus, obviously the first time that you've gone through a trade at the major league level. What have these last 3 days been like for you?
Just a whirlwind, just a lot. Been with the Blue Jays since 2012, so just kind of saying my goodbyes and kind of joining a new team, and I'm excited to get things going.
You're having your best season yet. What has been different this year than years past?
I just love where I'm at mentally and physically, to be honest. I feel like I'm in a great place. My body feels amazing. My mind, my head feels very clear. And I've just taken the steps to kind of make sure those things are where they need to be each and every time.
Is there something that you worked on specifically in the offseason to get to that point?
A few things. I don't talk out loud about those things, but the mental side is huge, obviously, and on the physical side as well. But I'm huge into the mind, and I'm a big believer in kind of manifesting things into belief, and the idea of having balance in your life is extremely key. So like I said, I'm in a great place. I feel really confident where I need to be when I'm out on the mound, and I'm excited to join the staff.
You've talked about how when you do cross those white lines, you're a different person. You're a different mindset entirely. How would you describe how different you are once you're on the mound versus just right now?
Yeah, you see it now. It's all smiles and fun and down to earth. Out there, I'm a different animal. I'm like a sicko, savage. I just go to a dark place out there, you know, to be at my highest level. Everyone kind of goes to different places, and when I'm out there, it's all business, and I compete at the highest level, and I want nothing more than to go out there and do well for my team.
Marcus, welcome to the Mets, and good luck moving forward here down the stretch.
Can't wait.
All right, Gary, back to you.
From Patchogue Medford High School to the New York Mets, Marcus Stroman will make his Mets debut in Pittsburgh on Saturday night. Tonight, it's the guy Stroman calls the best pitcher in baseball, Jacob DeGrom. Another cool evening in Chicago. None of the thunderstorms that the Northeast is experiencing right now. Temperature in the upper 60s as we approach game time. Here's a Geico Mets starting lineup. Todd Frazier, after getting spiked last night, will DH rather than play third base tonight. Danny Echeverria gets the start there. Robinson Cano 0 for his last 21, the longest 0 for of his career, and he remains in the cleanup spot tonight as the Mets look for their 6th straight win against the tall right-hander Lucas Giolito.
The Land Rover numbers for Giolito. He's having an incredible year. I know it's been tough the last couple of starts. In fact, his last start against Minnesota, he gave up 7 runs on 4 home runs, 3 of them to Nelson Cruz.
Jeff McNeil leads off for New York. When we last saw Jeff, he was clocking a 2-run homer that put the Mets in front of the 11th inning last night. Giolito's first pitch of this night is hit in the air, shallow to center field. Leury Garcia playing center field tonight. Settles under it. McNeil makes the first down on the first pitch.
Defensively, dodge defense for the White Sox. McCann behind the plate almost got hit in the face, but recovered, went to first. Goins is in there for Moncada. Anderson came back yesterday, and in the outfield, Eloy Jimenez is going to be in the outfield. Yesterday he was the DH. John Jay moves from left to right, and Garcia played center. Garcia played right field last night. Engel out of the game.
Lake Michigan awash with sailboats. Back inland, Michael Conforto takes a pitch outside. Conforto homered for the 3rd straight game last night, his second 3-home run streak this year, and it was a thing of beauty up into the concourse beyond the seats in right field. He pops this one up foul, and that'll go out of play. A ball and strike.
Yeah, Osich, the left-hander, tried to challenge him with a fastball, caught the middle of the plate, and that's about as far as Michael can hit one.
It was the first time in Mets history they had ever hit back-to-back home runs in extra innings. And they did it, McNeil and Conforto, 2 left-hand hitters against the left-hand pitcher. Full shift against Michael. And he takes the fastball inside from Giolito, 2-1.
Giolito wanted that pitch. What you'll see from Giolito is 95 mile-an-hour fastball, 2 different changeups, parachute changeup, and the one he throws down in the zone, and then his slurve.
And the slider low and in. It's 3-1 to Conforto. Last year, Giolito led the American League in walks, 4.7 walks per 9. This year, down to 3.2 walks per 9. So that's been a big improvement. Behind on Conforto, 3-1, and he walked him. So the Mets have a 1-out base runner.
Well, you can see how a huge improvement for Lucas this summer. What he did last year is he really had a long, fluid kind of arm, and he could never hit the same spot, so he was very erratic with his control. He went back to Harvard Westlake, where he went to high school in Los Angeles, talked to his coach, and his coach got him to the mechanics he has right now, which is a very short arm action.
Well, it happens a lot with tall pitchers, right?
Yeah.
6'6". Sometimes the mechanics can get out of whack. Here's Pete Alonso, had 2 hits last night. He takes a changeup for a strike. Pete 2 for 5 last night. 34 home runs, tied for 2nd in the National League. 77 runs batted in, 8th in the league. Conforto at first with one out. And Pete gets one in the air, shallow to right. Coming on is Jay, going out Sanchez, and Jay at the last moment takes charge of it for the second out. Sanchez and Jay still talking about it.
Well, Jay doesn't run like he once did, so he was a little late to this party. Usually this is a right fielder's ball all the way.
So 2 out, Conforto still at first. And now Robinson Cano. Last night 0 for 6. 4 straight ground ball outs his last 4 at bats. Now hitless in his last 21 at bats, his longest hitless streak of his career. And the longest active hitless streak of any non-pitcher in the majors. Statcast AI powered by Amazon Web Services. I talked to Mickey Callaway today about why Cano is still anchored in 3, 4, 5. He's been there all year. And he said basically if he had Dom Smith he might make a move. But without Dom, he doesn't feel there's anybody else he'd rather have in that spot. Nothing in 2. And there was bad news today about Dom. He's going to be in a walking boot for 3 weeks before he can even think about baseball activities. So you're talking about sometime in September before the Mets can hope to have Dom back and available. And that's a big blow for this team. Certainly lessens their prowess from the left side as Cano pops one up in foul ground. Who's going to get there? Goins near the dugout, can't get there. Playing in the shift, he was about 40 feet off the line, and Goins just couldn't get there in time. There was no chance for McCann, the catcher, to get there either.
Yeah, there was good hustle by everyone. Hustle by the catcher James McCann. We've seen a lot of hustle by him anyway. Goins, we saw earlier this week Plesac, a pitcher for the Cleveland Indians, made that play.
Yeah, with the shift, you have to be at least aware as a pitcher of the possibility that you might have the best chance to get to a ball like that.
Might have been my favorite part of the shift if I pitched now.
You would have made a few of those.
Oh, heck yeah.
You would have been like Michael Lorenzen in right field today. Did you see that?
I did see that.
There goes Conforto and a swing and a miss by Cano on a pitch in the dirt. McCann makes the toss, and that's strike 3. And the side retired. Giolito has his first strikeout. Jacob DeGrom heads to the mound when we come back. Here's a Hyundai starting lineup for the White Sox. Yoan Moncada hurt his hamstring last night. They say he's going to go on the injured list, although he's still technically active. So a start for Ryan Goins at third base. And A.J. Reed will be the DH tonight against Jacob DeGrom.
Jacob DeGrom working on 17 straight scoreless innings. He had 24 1/3 in his record-breaking season last year. Those are his Toyota numbers.
Larry Garcia leads off, 1 for 5 last night. Switch hitter batting left, and he fouls off the first fastball from DeGrom. Jake's slider usage has reached astounding heights over his last half-dozen starts, never more than in his last start when he threw it 54% of the time against the Padres. Garcia flies one out to left, and J.D. Davis has it measured. 1 out.
Defensively for the Mets, brought to you by Lexus. You can see Ramos is back behind the plate. He DH'd last night. Echeverria's in the game. Remember that Todd Frazier got spiked, but Frazier's the DH. And the same outfield that they had yesterday. J.D. Davis, of course, going to get a lot of play in left field.
By the way, we asked during the game and wondered why Juan Lagares didn't come out late for defense. Turned out Juan had a fever. He is available tonight. Here's Ryan Goins hitting second in the order. Goins came in and played third base last night when Moncada got hurt in the first inning. He went 1 for 4. Slider low and into Goins, and it's 2-0. Goins, a former Blue Jay, played in Kansas City last year, making just his 9th start for the White Sox. And he foul tips the fastball, and it's 2-1. Jake has made one start against the White Sox in his career. It came 3 years ago at Citi Field, and he was brilliant that day. Gave up 1 run in 7 innings and got a no decision.
Shocking.
It really is the story of his career, isn't it? And he blows that one right by Goins, and it's 2-2. The Mets are 7-14 in DeGrom starts this year. He has the 5th best ERA in the National League at 2.86. It's almost as though we are living last year all over again in Jacob DeGrom's performance and the Mets' inability to win on the days he pitches. 2-2 coming, and Goins drives one right field back toward the wall, and that ball short hops the fence. Goins on his way to second, and he makes it standing with a 1-out double.
Well, a rare time when DeGrom misses his spot. Ramos called for that fastball inside, outside, and he missed down and in. See how Ramos had to reach across his body, and one hopped off the fence. Nice play by McNeil. Barehanded, and got the ball in.
Goins had the first hit against Syndergaard last night. It came leading off the 5th inning, and he has the first hit against DeGrom tonight, a similar looking double. And now Jose Abreu, who had a rough night last night, went 0 for 5, including the key double play that was generated by Seth Lugo in the 8th inning. And Abreu takes the fastball out of the strike zone for ball 1.
So just like last night, Syndergaard pounded Abreu in early and then went away. I thought that was a strike by DeGrom, but he didn't get the call, and that was inside.
Mark Wagner calling the balls and strikes tonight. He's the crew chief. And Abreu takes a slider for a strike, and it's 1-1. There's your umpiring crew, including Nick Lentz, the young umpire at third base, who look how far over he got on that pop-up a moment ago.
Nice hustle, Nick Lentz. Love to see that. Got there before the players. He wasn't in a shift.
Beat me to it. 1-1 to Abreu, and another good slider by DeGrom. And against this right-hand dominated lineup is every expectation that he's going to keep on throwing that slider as much as he has the last few starts.
A.J. Reed on deck, a left-hander. Let's watch the sequence of pitching by DeGrom in this game. So fastball in, 2 sliders away. Let's see if he pops one more inside before he goes away or just stays with the slider. How to set up a hitter. DeGrom is a scientist.
Ahead on Abreu 1-2, and Ramos moves away again. And it's grounded to short. Runner advancing. Rosario's throw will be to first. He gets Abreu, and Goins goes to third. So 3 straight sliders by DeGrom, and he gets the ground ball from Abreu.
So Gary, when you're sequencing pitching, what you have to do as a pitcher is you have to kind of figure out in your mind what to throw and what gives you the best chance. So he threw 2 sliders that he missed. I mean, really missed poorly. So his thought could be, okay, I come back with one more fastball before I set it up. Why should I set it up? He missed 2 already. Let me go back out there. I know at least I'll get some soft contact. That's sequencing.
And that seems to be his pattern lately, right? Here's A.J. Reed, and he yanks one over the bag, just foul. Boy, that was awfully close to being a fair ball, and Reed thought it was. Alonso made the dive. Greg Gibson made the call, and DeGrom able to breathe a sigh of relief. That could have been a run-scoring double.
Well, Alonso's pretty close to that line. It was hit so sharply, but if that had been close, you would have heard you would have seen the manager come out, Rick Renteria. He's got a great view from where he sits in the dugout.
A.J. Reed, who came up with the Astros, a huge guy with unlimited power, has never hit much in the big leagues, so can understand why he would want that to be a hit. Lifetime 169 hitter. He pops this one a mile high, and Ramos, waiting for it to come down, sheds the mask into fair territory to grab it, and that retires the side. So DeGrom able to work around the double by Goins. No score after 1. Some of the Met fans on hand here in Chicago. There were a good number of them here last night. They were making a lot of noise.
They're all over Chicago, wearing their Orange and blue.
Second inning with no score. Wilson Ramos leads off against Lucas Giolito. Ramos DH'd last night, went 0 for 5, hit 5 ground balls to the left side last night. Looking for a little different plan tonight.
Watch him try to hit the ball to the right side today.
Ramos, Davis, and Frazier for the Mets against Giolito in the second. Giolito last 4 starts, 7.06 ERA after a wonderful first half for him. And that's lined to left field, and Ramos has a leadoff hit. He kept it off the ground.
Well, that's a slider by Giolito, which is a 50-50 pitch for him, meaning 50% of the time it's good, 50% of the time it is not. And Ramos got one off the end of the bat, flipped it into left.
Well, it's one of the reasons why right-hand hitters have had more success against Giolito than lefties, because his best secondary pitch clearly is his changeup.
It is. He does something that I've never heard any other pitcher do. He consciously tries to throw occasionally a high changeup, and he's had some success with it this year. Very rarely hear anyone try to do that.
Well, he has such a velocity difference between his fastball and changeup, much more than a normal pitcher, as J.D. Davis takes low and away.
I mean, that's how he gets his strikeouts. That's how he gets his outs. He throws just enough fastballs to keep you honest, and then pulls out that changeup.
And you see the RIP 45 on his cap. That is in honor of his good friend Tyler Skaggs. Skaggs was 3 years older than Giolito, but they worked out together, and Skaggs was really the first from that area in Santa Monica to make it to the big leagues. And I don't know if it's coincidence that Giolito has struggled since Skaggs' death, but it obviously hit all of the Angels very hard, but also the people in the game who knew Tyler, and Giolito was prominent among those.
All the kids in Los Angeles, a lot of times, if they don't work out together now, they certainly grew up either playing on travel teams or playing against each other.
One thing Giolito said that Skaggs left with him, they used to work out together, and Skaggs had a habit of dancing in the weight room, and taught Giolito to, just have a little lighter edge to him.
Loosen up a little bit.
He said, "I still dance in the weight room in honor of Tyler Skaggs."
Cool.
2-1 to J.D. Davis, and he takes low and away, 3-1. Of course, there's been a lot more talent out of that area making it to the big leagues recently, including Giolito's high school teammates. Think of the staff they had there. It was Giolito, Max Fried, and Jack Flaherty, all on the same staff at Harvard Westlake High School. I mean, how did they ever lose? J.D. grounds one slowly to short. Anderson's going to have to go to first with it, and gets the out there as Ramos moves to second. Well, there you see how well he was going before this last bump in the road for him. He had a couple of rough starts to begin the year, then kicked it in gear, and now trying to find it again.
The home runs are up like all pitchers. If you can't keep it in the ballpark, that's where you hit your bad streaks.
Well, you mentioned that last start against the Twins, who hit more home runs than anybody, and they had 4 of them in 5 innings against Giolito in his last start.
Barely got the Elias note out before Nelson Cruz hit 3 home runs off him.
Here's Todd Frazier, who's DHing tonight. Todd got a pretty good cut on his knee last night on a play at third base where he got spiked. Stayed in the game, but DHing today to take a little pressure off that knee. And Todd breaks his bat and flies one to left pretty deep back near the wall. Jimenez just enough room to make the catch. Bat snapped in half, and the ball nearly went out of the ballpark. Welcome to baseball 2019.
Well, he's lucky in left field here. There usually is some wind that blows from the concourse in. So when that ball starts to come down, over the bullpen, it will somewhat blow back onto the field. If it hadn't, that would have been a home run.
I mean, Frazier looking at the piece of lumber left in his hands, just a twig, and he almost got a home run out of it.
Mockery of the sport.
So now 2 outs, and the red hot Ahmed Rosario comes up. A 4-hit game for Ahmed last night. He's up to 277 for the year, and in the month of July he's hitting 368, which is the best in the National League. And he lays off the first pitch from Giolito, ball 1.
We saw Harper hit a home run off DeGrom last year at Citi Field. And it's not on Todd. We've seen it with plenty of people with broken bats now. It's just, I don't know how you can justify it, but it is being justified. So that's how it goes.
And a half swing, and he laid off the changeup, and it's 1-1. Ahmed's game last night was his 8th this year with 3 or more hits. And 7 of those 8 games with 3 or more hits have come on the road, oddly enough. He's been using the entire field. Last night he had 2 hits to right, 1 to left, and 1 to center.
You know, Gary, it's interesting you're talking about Cano and in the 4th spot, and you know, Dom Smith, if he was here, and this and that or whatever. At some point, if the Mets are going to make the run they constantly talk about, then this young man is going to have to be moved up in the lineup. It's great that he gets 4 hits out of the 8th hole, but at some point he's got to be one of your, you know, first couple of hitters.
You know, that's true, and I agree with that. The problem is that when he's been moved up in the order, he has not been as effective as when he's been in the 7, 8, 9 hole.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with placating and say, boy, he hits well there, let's not move him. I mean, baseball, professional sports, about getting better, moving on up.
Well, Rosario, certainly from an offensive standpoint, is starting to show you why he was such a highly rated prospect, because he has gotten better and better.
Yeah.
Defensively, he's certainly been better the last 2 months than he was the first 2 months, but he's got a ways to go there. Ahmed in the 8 hole is hitting 379 this year, and he's hitting 8th tonight. He bloops one into right center, falling fast. Garcia with a great diving catch to save a run. Larry Garcia came a long way to take that base hit away from Rosario and end the inning. Saving a run for the White Sox with a terrific play.
I was with you, Gary. I didn't think there was any chance he was going to get there, but he plays very shallow, and he took just the perfect angle to save the White Sox and Giolito. Every pitcher since the beginning of time, when an outfielder makes a catch like that, reacts just like that.
It's a strange inning, wasn't it? Almost a broken bat home run. Then that fine play by Garcia to save a run after the previous half inning, where a run was saved on a questionable fair foul call for DeGrom. So each pitcher's gotten the benefit. Eloy Jimenez leading off for the White Sox in the home second. On a rough night last night, 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts, but DeGrom quickly falls behind him 3-0.
When he gets in this stance, he's very crouched. That front foot is extremely open, and he almost takes up the entire box on his toe.
Swinging 3-0, and he pops one up into shallow right. McNeil coming on and puts it away. 1 out.
I mean, there's a lot of great feelings for pitchers. One of them is when a hitter swings 3-0 and makes an out.
See, I understand, Ronnie, why most hitters get 3-0 hit signs these days, but you got a rookie player who's bound to be over anxious leading off an inning. I do not understand why you would have a hit sign on that.
I don't either, but being the devil's advocate, I would say that he's trying to inspire confidence in his young player, and he knows maybe this might be the only time at the at-bat he gets a fastball, Gary.
John Jay takes a fastball for a strike. Jay getting the start in right field tonight. Went 1 for 5 last night. And the slider catches the inside corner. 94-mile-an-hour slider from DeGrom.
So another get back with the sequencing, folks. Fastball in, slider in.
And he follows that up with another slider, 1 and 2.
One of the most underrated things in baseball, and you'll see all the great pitchers do it. All the bad pitchers give up hits on 0-2. 0-2 pitch, slider, make sure it bounces. See if he fishes for it.
Yeah, he crowds him with a fastball, and it's 2 and 2.
Hasn't got his fastball command. That's why the kind of crook of the head there by DeGrom.
Right back to the slider, and Jay able to yank it foul. Well, we've talked a lot about his slider, and it's not just that he's throwing more this year than he's ever thrown before, but he's thrown more this month than he's ever thrown before.
It's throughout baseball, and it's affecting the Cy Young Award winners to the also-rans.
And he takes care of Jay with the slider for the second out of the inning. Now, for a guy like Jake, who's got 4 good weapons,
yeah,
is there any downside to this increased reliance on this one secondary pitch?
I think you let the hitters, Gary, give you that answer. And if the hitters just continue to miss the pitch or weak contact on the pitch, and you continue to be successful with it, then you don't change what you're doing. But once the hitters, you have to be able to really react quickly. If the hitters start putting it in play, they start hitting an occasional home run off it, that's when you got to go maybe back to your fastball.
Anderson breaks his bat, rolls it down to Alonso, and it's an easy inning for DeGrom. He sets him down 1-2-3. No score after 2. The MLB Ballpark app will complete your next visit to Citi Field. Buy and manage game tickets, redeem special check-in offers, access exclusive content, and much more. Download the MLB Ballpark app today. Sailboats are still out there on the lake.
Beautiful.
Still plenty of daylight remaining at 7:44 local. Adeiny Echeverria leads off in the third. Echeverria playing third base tonight. Just the third start he's made at third base this year, the 21st of his career, but he can play anywhere on the infield and shine. Always had the great glove. All those years playing shortstop for the Marlins. Taken outside by Echeverria, a ball and a strike. McNeil and Conforto to follow.
Remember, Echeverria was with the Yankees in the postseason last year, played 4 out of 5 games because he kind of was the defensive caddy for Miguel and Duhar.
That good changeup by Giolito, and it's 1-2. Two coming, and Echeverria takes a fastball that just missed somewhere.
It's the same pitch that DeGrom did not get in the second inning. Ball in, down, right there. Wegner's not calling the ball down so far.
So Echeverria gets a life and fouls off the next pitch.
Kills my theory. I always think that taller umpires tend to get a higher strike zone. Shorter umpires, you tend to get a shorter strike zone, lower strike zone.
Calling Mark Wegner short?
I'm just saying he's not as tall as some of the other umpires.
I got you.
I don't want to get in trouble there.
And Echeverria able to lay off, and that's ball 4. And there's the second walk given up by Giolito. So he didn't get the call on the 2-2 pitch, and Echeverria able to stop the swing on the 3-2 pitch. So the Mets have a leadoff base runner in the third with McNeil coming up. Jeff began the night back in the major league lead in batting average. He was at .336 when the night began, 1 point ahead of Christian Yelich after a 2-hit night last night. Flied out to center field on the first pitch of the game tonight.
Good eye, Blue.
I love it. Good eye, Blue, from the fan.
Nobody's ever happy. And McNeil caught McCann, who is doubled over.
Well, we saw last night how tough McCann is.
Ooh, nobody's that tough.
He's that tough, but
No, not like that. No fun. Why would you want to be a catcher?
Get to wear the equipment.
It's cool when you're a kid. And McCann's one of the better ones around. Echeverria's got 3 stolen bases this year. Giolito was very vulnerable to the steal last year before he had James McCann. Now nobody steals on him.
Also that long arm action, so he's tightened everything up. Compact arm action, quick to the plate, James McCann.
Giolito gave up 26 steals last year, only 2 this year. That's a huge improvement. McNeil fouls off the fastball. And now a quick message from Porsche. We miss you, Brandon.
Might be getting Brandon and Dominic Smith back around the same time.
Time for that late September charge.
One can hope.
Oh, 0-2 to McNeil with Conforto on deck. And Jeff with the emergency hack fouls off the slider.
You know, a lot of hitters, when you look at a lot of pitchers, when you look at a hitter take a swing like that, it might give you an indication what to throw. Not with McNeil. He has a lot of ugly looking swings that are followed by beautiful swings.
Anything to stay in the at bat and get himself another chance. And he goes down swinging on the changeup. And Giolito has his second strikeout of the night.
Both coming on changeups. Ball just never gets there for the hitter. That's why McNeil was so out front. Cano earlier in the game in his first at bat.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now Conforto drew a walk his first time up. And again, they put 3 infielders on the right side against Michael. And Conforto pops one up into shallow right. Jay got a late start, now racing in, sliding and making the catch. No, he dropped it. Heading for second, Echeverria, and the throw beats him there for the force play. Echeverria did not realize at first that that ball had landed behind Jay, and Jay able to recover and throw him out at second base.
Well, this one off the end of the bat, it fools John Jay. Went back first, and then when he came in, he made the catch, but it fell as he was falling to the ground. There's absolutely no criticism of Echeverria on this play. There's nothing you can do, because if you don't go back here and he's got the ball in his glove, he could double you off at first. So it was should I stay or should I go now kind of situation.
Are the Mets challenging this call? Apparently they are.
Maybe they thought the infielder came off the bag quickly.
Let's see, Anderson taking the throw. Oh, maybe. Maybe he's not on the bag. That could be.
Could be.
It was not a situation where Anderson really had to stretch that much. I'm not quite sure why he would have come off the bag. And so the Mets are challenging the call. Stu Sherwater, who made the call. That would be the taller gentleman on the left. Mark Wegner, the crew chief, on the right.
Ever since we got the kid from Toronto, we put a moratorium on any of those kind of jokes, Gary.
Let's see. Oh, you know, you could certainly make the case that that foot was off the bag. I think you're right, Ronnie.
They'd have to have a different angle, though. I mean, I wouldn't be able to say 100% from there.
There certainly appeared to be space between the bottom of his shoe and the corner of the bag. Can you tell from this angle? Let's see. He's off the bag.
Yeah, I think he is.
I think the Mets are going to get this call. There certainly appears to be daylight between the foot and the bag. Fielding Culbreth and Angel Hernandez are the crew chiefs at the replay center in Chelsea.
Well, that's an unfortunate play for Anderson if they reverse it, because there's no reason for him to reach out that far.
I mean, they're going to have Echeverria out by a healthy margin.
Yep.
But it would certainly appear as though that foot was not in contact with the bag when the ball arrived. And so it's a flip of a coin, basically, Ronnie. You challenge a call. The replay appears to show that the challenge was correct and the play should be overturned, and they don't overturn it.
Well, you know. So you know, they're telling us there wasn't enough information. That's the only way I can try to understand that, or they have a different shot than we see.
So it goes in the books as a 9-6 fielder's choice. And Conforto is at first with 2 out for Alonso, who flied out to right his first time up. A good slider to start him off from Giolito, 0-1.
If they had ruled Anderson was off the bag, would that given a hit to Conforto?
I think it would have been an error on Anderson, no?
Yeah.
And a half swing. And he comes up empty, and it's 0-2.
Yeah, Jay just had it for a second, and it wasn't the ground that caused it. Had it right in the middle of his glove, but when he went to put his glove down, just kind of snuck out the top.
So you can see why Echeverria wouldn't have known. And then Jay also shielded Echeverria from seeing with his body, so it was very hard for him to pick up if the ball was on the ground. 1-2 now to Alonso. Pete started the night 4th in the National League in slugging percentage. Down in the count here, 1-2, and he goes down swinging on the changeup, and Giolito has his 3rd strikeout, so he gets around a leadoff walk and keeps this game scoreless. Well, the Mets have been pitching brilliantly since the All-Star break. It was Noah Syndergaard's turn last night. He was never better.
Well, it was the best game I saw him have in quite a long time. The slider, you see the grip. That was as good as he's had all season long. It's of course been much better in the second half. And then when you saw his 4-seam fastball, he was able to throw it to both sides of the plate. Inside it to Abreu, up and in to James McCann, down and in to Tim Anderson. And then finally the changeup. Saw probably a dozen great changeups from Syndergaard last night. In fact, Steve Stone, the analyst for the television network here, who I have a lot of respect for, said, how does this guy not win every game? I said, yeah, when he's on, he's on.
Well, he's been on lately. The last 4 starts, he's pitching as well as he has in a long time for that kind of consistent basis. James McCann rolls one out to Rosario at short, and that's the first out for Jacob DeGrom in the 3rd. Jake, by the way, is now through 19 consecutive scoreless innings. It's the longest shutout streak for a Met pitcher this year, and he's starting to approach his career high that he set last year, 24 1/3 consecutive scoreless during his Cy Young season. Well, 1 out and nobody on, and now Yolmer Sanchez. Sanchez had a good night last night. He was on base 4 times with a couple of hits and 2 walks. Switch hitter, normally better right-handed, but he had a good night batting left-handed last night. So the White Sox, like the Mets, didn't do anything at the trading deadline beyond what had already occurred. There was a lot of speculation that they would trade their closer Alex Colomé, but they took him off the board early today, and they stood pat.
Yeah, they did something really small with one of their relievers who was hurt just to get some international bonus money.
Yeah, Nate Jones is out for the year. Off the fists, and that's into center field. And Sanchez, the Mets just can't get out so far in this series. He's on base for the 5th straight time. And the White Sox have their 2nd hit of the night.
Well, he threw him 2 high sliders in a row. The first one for a ball, and this one off the fist for a hit. Wasn't trying to throw it up and in, just missed with those 2 pitches.
So up to the top of the batting order for Leury Garcia, who flied out to left field his first time up. Now through August 2nd at 11:59 p.m. get your Mets tickets and pay no fees. This limited time offer applies to all remaining regular season home games in 2019. For more information, visit Mets.com/no fees. DeGrom's been doing some more long holds lately because he's had trouble this year preventing base stealing.
I think there's a couple of things he's doing. One, trying to stop the base stealers from getting comfortable, and second, kind of making the hitters wait too.
He's given up 16 stolen bases this year. Sanchez had 1 last night.
You know, holding the ball like that, I remember I was asked by one of my pitching coaches to do that. He said it's really good to freeze the runner, good to freeze the hitter. And I had to keep telling him the only one that's getting nervous out there is me, not the hitter or the runner.
Garcia's late on the fastball, and it's 0-2. Well, in Mets history, only Tom Seaver has had a better ERA than Jacob DeGrom. That is some rather heady company. And it would have been unfathomable to say this 6 weeks ago. But Jacob DeGrom is now a candidate to defend his National League Cy Young title. I mean, especially with the injury to Max Scherzer and the uncertainty about him going forward.
The other Washington pitcher and Ryu are his big challenges.
Well, Ryu pitched another gem today, 6 scoreless innings. He's down to 1.66. I would say he's at the very top of the list right now. Out to left field, shallow. On comes Davis, and it's going to drop for a base hit. And so Leury Garcia on an 0-2 pitch able to dump one to the left field, and so the White Sox have a couple of men on.
You know, because of the inexperience of the Mets left fielders, Dominic Smith earlier, and of course J.D. Davis, what do? You play them deep so that they don't get beat deep, and you end up giving up a lot of hits in front of you.
So a couple of speedy runners aboard. Sanchez at second, Garcia at first with 1 out. Ryan Goins, the batter, he drilled a double to right field his first time up. Those are Jake's season numbers. That 2.86 ERA was 5th in the league. The 163 strikeouts, 4th in the National League. And he misses inside to fall behind Goins, 2-0.
So as you can see, folks, this is very rare for DeGrom. His control's a little off. Missed with that first pitch fastball away to get ahead. His slider now in this inning, he's thrown 4 of them. They've all been above the belt. That's very unusual.
Third time he's fallen behind 2-0 tonight. And now it's 3-0. And he got Jose Abreu looming on deck. So DeGrom just a little out of sorts right now.
He's got to pour this one in here. No, you wouldn't think with Abreu up next that Goins would be hitting 3-0, even though it's prevalent around the league.
Takes a look back at Sanchez. Nobody covering. And he walks Goins on 4 pitches to load the bases. First walk of the night for DeGrom. So after a couple of soft singles, a 4-pitch walk, and that brings up the White Sox best RBI bat in Jose Abreu with the bases loaded.
I don't know if it happens less because of the visits to the mound, but this would be a great time for Ramos just to go out. You don't really have to talk about anything. DeGrom knows what he's doing, just to give him a break, change it up.
Mets have held Abreu in check so far in this series, but Abreu with 72 runs batted in, tied for 6th in the American League with a golden chance here. Bases loaded, 1 out, and Abreu goes after a first pitch slider, 0-1.
Well, Jake will take exactly what he got from Abreu in his first at bat, and that is ground ball to shortstop. Nasty slider there on the corner.
Let's play straight up on the infield against Abreu. Hitter who can use all fields, particularly in RBI situations. Just laid off that slider, and it's 1-1. Abreu struggling right now, 2 for his last 25, but nobody the White Sox would rather have up in this spot.
The whole White Sox team has been struggling since the All-Star break.
They've lost 14 of 18. They're averaging right at 3 runs per game during that span. And Abreu drives one to right center. Over comes Conforto. Tagging at third is Sanchez. He heads home, and the throw cut off. Sacrifice fly for Jose Abreu gets the White Sox on the board first. 1-0 Chicago.
Well, Gary, you talked about it. Abreu has that ability to hit the ball the other way. He will not get himself out trying to hit the ball in the air. Stay down on that. And watch the runner on second base. Garcia going back, watching where Conforto is going to go. Could see that Conforto was going to throw that ball home, so he took the extra base.
So runners at the corners with 2 down, and now A.J. Reed. So DeGrom's scoreless string ends at 19 consecutive innings. Reed popped up his first time up after barely missing an extra base hit on a ball that just went foul over the first base bag. And DeGrom crowds him with a slider, 2-0.
So in his first at bat, A.J. Reed fastball in, almost hit a double down the line. Then DeGrom countered with a changeup that he popped up. It'll be interesting what he decides to throw here. 2-0. I bet you it'll be something soft, slider or changeup.
Second time in the last 3 hitters that Jake's fallen behind 3-0. It's a pretty good bet that Reed has a green light.
And if I'm DeGrom, I would not give in to this Adam Dunn lookalike.
Yeah, it's a guy just looking to hit a 3-run homer. And he walks him on 4 pitches. Second 4-pitch walk of the inning. And that reloads the bases. And Phil Regan's going to take a jog out to the mound. Well, this is the rare inning where DeGrom just does not have much command. But these are the spots where over the course of his career he has been so adept at limiting damage, and he's got a huge spot coming up right now.
He just doesn't give in. I think with A.J. Reed, certainly he doesn't want to walk A.J. Reed. But when he's looking at and picking his poison, A.J. Reed, who hit a blistering foul ball off him, or Eloy Jimenez, a guy that he thinks he should handle, there's a method to his madness.
Jimenez flying out to right his first time up. Bases loaded, 2 down, a run home for the White Sox in the 3rd. And the rookie Jimenez takes the first pitch at the knees for a strike, 0-1.
The difference, Gary, between good pitchers and great pitchers is the great pitchers, when they identify that person they want to get out, they get him out.
And that slider catches the corner, and it's 0-2. You know who was great at that? Maybe as good as anybody I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Was David Cohen.
Yes, he was.
He would pitch around guys to get to the guy he wanted to retire.
Tony, his intelligence as a pitcher, not always thought first because he had great stuff. Intelligent as well.
0-2 to Eloy Jimenez. And that just missed. Ramos trying to hold it an extra beat for Mark Wagner. Didn't quite get the call, and it's 1-2.
I haven't seen DeGrom with the additional use of his slider use that fastball up in the strike zone as much for the strikeout.
Ramos staying away. And Jimenez got a piece of it to stay alive. Eloy Jimenez, 17 home runs this year, leads all American League rookies. Just got back from a stint on the injured list with an elbow injury. They DH'd him for 3 games. His first game back in the field tonight. Garcia at third, Goins at second, Reed at first with 2 out. 24th pitch of the inning coming up for DeGrom. And Jimenez lays off. That's 2-2.
Kerry, this slider usage we've seen against the Padres, and out of division club, the White Sox, and interleague club. I don't think you'll see the same usage by DeGrom in his own division. He won't get away with it there. We've seen him too often.
Next start will be against the Marlins, who've seen him plenty. Bases loaded, 2 down. 2-2 to Jimenez. And he just got a piece of that slider. Everything slider away, and Jimenez hanging in.
So we're talking about sequencing. Now this takes a real brave act, but obviously that was a perfect pitch. He fouled it off. What should that tell you as a pitcher? He is so vulnerable up and in. We saw him swing at 3 pitches off Edwin Diaz, up and in. He wants to swing at that pitch. Are you brave enough to throw it?
Seventh pitch of the at bat coming to Jimenez. He went right back to the slider and struck him out. DeGrom not giving in. He knew how he wanted to get Jimenez out, and he limits the damage to 1 run. We've shown a lot of sailboats tonight, but there are fewer now as it starts to get a little dark.
I don't think people realize that Guaranteed Rate Field is so very close to the lake. We always assume that Wrigley Field is close. It's very close here also.
Robinson Cano thinks about a bunt, leading off in the 4th inning with the Mets down by a run. Cano struck out his first time up tonight, now 0 for his last 22. And with the third baseman Goins playing well off the line, why not try and bunt for a hit? Get yourself off the schneid and get your team a leadoff base runner. But he swings and pops it up. Anderson calling for it. And so Cano's troubles continue. 1 down in the 4th. So we talked about what the Mets didn't do at the trading deadline. They didn't trade Wheeler. They didn't trade Syndergaard. They didn't trade Frazier. Basically, Brody Van Wagenen said we couldn't make our team better. So here we are, 5 games out in the wild card. We have as good a rotation as anybody in baseball now. They're pitching great. We added Stroman, and we're going to let the chips fall where they may. What the Mets didn't do also is address their bullpen, which is struggling. However, the teams at the top of the National League East went all in for bullpen help. Ramos pops one up on the left side. And it's grabbed by Goins for the second. Now it just so happens that the Braves and Nationals are playing each other this week. And the Braves blew a lead in the 9th and then won it in the 10th today. And both those teams made big plays for relief pitch.
The name you might not know for the Braves, Chris Martin, was having a fantastic year for the Texas Rangers. Melanson, of course, and Green both have been closers. Green in current times, Melanson in his past. And the Nationals, ironic that they get Hunter Strickland. They probably had the biggest brawl they've ever had in their career with Hunter Strickland and Bryce Harper. Elias was the closer for the Seattle Mariners, and Daniel Hudson is having a heck of a year in Toronto.
And you know, Hunter Strickland has been good in the past, although struggling lately in Seattle.
Coming off an arm injury too. So
what I find interesting is that the Phillies did not go for bullpen help. They went for a couple of starters, including Jason Vargas. Drew Smiley, who pitched 7 scoreless for them. They took a flyer on him. But ironic for the Phillies not to go for bullpen help on a day when they announced that David Robertson is going to have Tommy John surgery and miss all of this year and all of next year as well.
I think there was a real battle over time because of the new rules this year. And I also think there are some teams that really have battled a lot over trying to get outside of their box of what they think success is. And some teams decided to think outside the box.
Well, you know, there are teams that have obvious needs and teams that address things that were not so obvious. But as usual, well, at least in recent years, the team that made the biggest splash, the closest to the deadline, was the Houston Astros, who got Zach Greinke moments before the deadline hit, much as they got Justin Verlander 2 years ago. That strike 3 called, and J.D. Davis is down on strikes, and Lucas Giolito with a shutout inning after getting the lead. 1-0 White Sox in the 4th. Home 4th inning. John Jay leads off for the White Sox against Jacob DeGrom and takes a strike. Jay struck out his first time up. 1-0 Chicago after DeGrom gave up a sacrifice fly to Jose Abreu, but left him loaded in the 3rd. And Jay fouls off the slider, and it's 0-2. Drive Around the Majors brought to you by Cadillac. We mentioned it right before the break. Zach Greinke goes to the Astros, which gives them a top 3 of Cole, Verlander, and Greinke, about as formidable as any postseason bound team could ask for in a short series, as Jay goes down on a high fastball, and DeGrom has his 3rd strikeout.
There's the fastball up in the zone that we have not seen, maybe because of the way the White Sox are reacting. Maybe that high fastball will come into play more. You know what, Gary, I find interesting about the Astros is that because they are sometimes called or considered kind of the nerds of baseball because they're so smart, and it started a lot, or at least had their own thoughts on analytics and how they work for the game. I think they've been one of the most fluid franchises. They're a team that said they might not need a closer, went out and got Ken Giles. They're a team that didn't want to take on a big salary, took on Justin Verlander. Certainly have taken on a lot of money with Zach Greinke.
Greinke under control for 2 more years after this. He's 35 years old, so you're certainly taking a bit of a gamble there. But they didn't give up their top 2 prospects, right. Kyle Tucker or Forrest Whitley. They gave up their 3, 4, and 5 prospects. Anderson hits one past the mound, and Cano's right there to grab it. And that's the second out.
I think the Astros understand more than anyone. You have this window, and you got to max out the window. They have these great everyday players. Why not?
The team that I found confounding at the deadline today was the Yankees, especially in the light of what the Astros did. Now, the Yankees have had a magical season. They've had all these injuries, and yet here they are almost 30 games over 500. But it almost feels like, and maybe I'm wrong about this, that Brian Cashman is saying we're playing with house money this year because of what we've done. Next year is our year when we have everybody back healthy. And because how do you compete with the Astros starting pitching with what the Yankees have right now in that department?
Well, I think that they're, to me, I think, and I'm not going to speak for Brian, certainly. I wouldn't know half of what he knows about how acquiring players. But I do feel like they're all in and hoping that the rehabbing of Betances and Severino goes correctly. And if that does, then that gives them 2 pieces that they could never get on the market. Problem is that you might not get Severino where you would want him to be, and that would be as a starter where they could really use him. He might end up being, I don't know, a bullpen piece or a piggyback piece for a starter who has a tough game.
Well, let me ask you this. Is part of the Yankees' plan, do you think, to just go total bullpen in the postseason? I mean, their bullpen is so good. Do you say, all right, well, we'll use an opener, we'll count our starters for 2 or 3 innings and just go complete bullpen from there?
I think that's somewhere they can go. The one thing they can't do, Gary, they don't have the starting pitchers who can pitch in relief on the days that they don't start.
DeGrom gets the side in order with a couple of strikeouts. 1-0 White Sox after 4. Saturday, August 10th, the Mets take on the Nationals at 7:10 p.m. The first 15,000 fans at Citi Field will receive a Mets Hawaiian shirt. Not like that. Courtesy of Toyota. To purchase tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets.
Oh, well, you mean the one in the shot with the guy with the hat? It's Jimmy Buffett night here at Guaranteed Rate Field.
Welcome to Margaritaville.
Come Monday is my favorite song by Jimmy.
Todd Frazier, the former White Sox performer, takes inside as we start the 5th inning.
Cheeseburger in paradise.
Is this really paradise?
I'm not kidding.
But I understand that. He's wearing the cheeseburger. I'm just wondering whether this is paradise.
Gary, ball game. You're watching a ball game. It's as close to paradise as you can get. It's dollar hot dog night.
Oh, see,
you got a cold brew.
Now you're talking.
And watching a game.
But it shouldn't it be dollar cheeseburger in paradise night?
There you go.
Cheeseburgers in the press room tonight.
You know, there's you know. You're the only other person other than me I've ever seen eat a hamburger with mustard on it. You and I did today.
Always. Hooked foul by Frazier, 2-2. But you know I'm not a real ketchup.
I'm not a ketchup guy either.
Give me a nice fresh tomato on the burger.
Farmer's Market tomato, one of those.
Well, something that tastes like a tomato, doesn't just look like a tomato. And don't get me started on cherry tomatoes.
Oh.
That's one of the worst inventions ever. 2-2 coming. And a fly ball deep to center. Back goes Garcia to the warning track at the wall. It's off the fence. Bouncing away. Frazier to second. He'll stop there with a double. That ball hit about 3/4 of the way up on the wall. Garcia got there, couldn't quite make the connection, and Frazier's got his 9th double of the year.
Well, Garcia plays very shallow. We saw it before, and he had to go a long way, and that ball just barely stayed in the ballpark, hit off the yellow, the top of that fence, and just stayed in the park.
I think when Garcia got back there, he thought that ball was going out because he kind of pulled up. It's a ball, if he had kept going, he might have been able to catch, and I think that's why he was angry with himself.
Or throw a glove on it or something.
So the tying run at second with nobody out. Now Rosario, they shorten up at the corners as though they're expecting him to bunt, which is odd. And there's a strike.
So a lot of times in this ballpark, that ball will carry out of the ballpark.
Yeah, he definitely thought that was going out. But it did not.
I don't think he could have got to it, though.
That's drilled to left field, falling fast, and Jimenez comes on to make the catch. So Rosario with a sinking liner to left, but Jimenez able to grab it, and that's the first out. So now Danny Echeverria batting 9th in the order. Drew a walk his first time up. By the way, we mentioned that the Braves and Nationals were playing each other this week. So Luke Jackson blows a 2-run lead in the 9th. And they go to extra innings. And Josh Donaldson homers in the 10th, and the Braves win. What an acquisition Josh Donaldson has been.
T-shirt in Atlanta should be worth all 23.
I mean, the Braves were criticized for not, quote unquote, doing anything in the offseason. All they did was sign Donaldson, who has been such an important piece of their offense.
And that was kind of an old school hire. Their GM, Alex Anthopoulos, knew him from Toronto, knew what kind of player and person he was, and took a chance.
Spectrum high-speed pitch tonight. Still don't know how the Braves starting pitching is going to stack up in the postseason, but they certainly hope their bullpen and their offense is superb. Of course, they're missing Nick Markakis right now, but Adam Duvall came back and had a big impact for them last night. He spent most of this year in the minor leagues. And a half swing, and Echeverria went around for strike 3. 5 strikeouts now for Giolito, 2 out of the inning.
You'll see this more from Mark Wegner, the home plate umpire. He doesn't really ask for help a lot. He will call that check swing on his own.
So after the leadoff double, Giolito's retired the next 2. And now Jeff McNeil, who's 0 for 2 tonight, flied out and struck out. Jeff came into the night hitting .373 with runners in scoring position and looking to pick up Frazier with a 2-out hit. He turns that one foul, and it got people's attention in the dugout.
McNeil leads the Mets in hitting balls and scaring his teammates in the dugout.
Leads the world in swinging.
Yes, he does.
Thou shalt not pass.
See him take a peek on that left side of the infield.
Wants to know where that hole is. It's gaping at shortstop. Giolito throws one toward his feet, and it's a ball and a strike.
Well, since he was so far ahead of those changeups that he struck out on in his last at bat, that would be a great approach in this at bat, trying to hit the ball the other way to keep him behind the baseball. He won't be out in front. Easier said than done.
Giolito was struggling coming into the night, but he's given up just 2 hits over 4 2/3. And he pops the fastball on the outside corner, and it's 1-2.
Well, they surprised him with that fastball to get to 1-2. It's the changeup he struck him out on last time. Does he go back to it?
One, two coming. And he struck him out with a high fastball. Second time Giolito struck out McNeil, and he works around a leadoff double. Still 1-0 White Sox. We go to the bottom of the 5th inning. Yolmer Sanchez leads off against Jacob DeGrom. Mets are still trying to figure out a way to retire Sanchez, who's been on base all 5 plate appearances in this series. Had a base hit to center field and scored the only run of this game in the 3rd. And trying to bunt his way on, and he fouls it off. Well, there's a lot of history here on the south side of Chicago. They've won 3 World Series titles here. The most recent one in 2005. The other 2, 1906 and 1917. So it's the 50th anniversary of the Go-Go Sox, who won the American League pennant in 1959, lost to the Dodgers in the World Series.
Louis Aparicio in the bunch.
60th anniversary. Fouled away, but it is the 100th anniversary of the most infamous White Sox team, the 1919 so-called Black Sox, who were found to have purposely lost the World Series to the Cincinnati Reds. It was a best-of-9 series. They lost 5 games to 3. Sanchez out on strike. It was immortalized in the movie 8 Men Out.
That's right.
Shoeless Joe Jackson, Buck Weaver, Eddie Seacott. This is actual footage from the 1919 World Series.
Amazing. Seacott had 29 wins that year.
And of course, Shoeless Joe Jackson had a chance to be one of the greatest baseball players ever. And, you know, depending on which account you believe, he either was or was not complicit in the plot to throw the World Series.
I always thought it was started with Chick Gandil, who I think there was their first baseman, got together with a local gambler in Chicago, and they, you know, the history of baseball was closely related with some gamblers in the day when they first started playing way long ago. So it wasn't such a stretch to think that way.
Well, the fact of the matter is the players believed that they were vastly underpaid. They had been promised bonuses that did not materialize, and that helped reel them into the
That's right.
the idea that they would be better off taking the gamblers' money and losing the World Series. In many cases, it cost them their careers, as they were banished from baseball by the commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis. Even though they were found not guilty in a court of law, they were banned from baseball by baseball's court of law. Fix these faces in your memory.
Who was the commissioner then? Was it Kennesaw Mountain Landis?
Yeah, the first commissioner of baseball. He was brought in basically to clean up the sport in the wake of that scandal.
And that's why every clubhouse in baseball has that sign that reminds all players that no gambling on the sport.
Good changeup by DeGrom to strike out Larry Garcia. So DeGrom has struck out 5 of the last 6 batters. He's hitting his stride.
He is hitting his stride, Gary, and you've seen a lot more fastballs up in the zone and a few more changeups from DeGrom as he's kind of changed gears, which he certainly does many times the 3rd time through the order.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Ryan Goins, who has doubled and walked tonight.
This ballpark here reminds me of Shea Stadium as far as our vantage point. We're so close. I loved our booth at Shea Stadium. It just, I don't know, you just felt like you could hear the glove pop. You could hear a pitcher yell if he thought it was a strike.
Yeah, we were very much projected forward in that booth, and it's a similar feeling here. I think you're right. I think of all the ballparks that we come to now, this is probably the closest vantage point that we have to the field. But don't worry, we're going to Pittsburgh next, and that'll change. That's a long way up. DeGrom falls behind on Goins again, 3-1.
DeGrom feels that ball that he's thrown there is a high strike that he's not getting from Wegner, whose strike zone is considerably smaller than last night's Nick Lentz, home plate umpire.
Full count to Goins. Jose Abreu would be next. Three-two coming. Popped up, shallow left center. Rosario out to make the catch, and that retires the side. 7 in a row retired by DeGrom. We've played 5 in Chicago. White Sox 1, Mets nothing. Sixth inning, Mets down 1-0. Michael Conforto leads off against Lucas Giolito, who's thrown just 63 pitches over the first 5 innings. Worked around a leadoff double in the last inning. And bounces that breaking ball, and that one caught McCann. Second time he's been hit tonight.
I think it got under his mask, might have caught him on the chin or the throat. Just came up at the right angle, right underneath his mask, I believe.
Right there.
Yeah.
I mean, every catcher has a little extension on the mask or a strap, but every once in a while it gets underneath there.
I mean, it has to be almost a perfect strike. It was a big curveball that just ran right up his chest protector.
Right between the McCann and the mask. It'll take a few moments to catch your wind.
No karaoke.
No high notes anyway. 2-0 to Conforto's walked and hit into a fielder's choice tonight. Giolito has walked 2, struck out 6. Alonso and Cano to follow for the Mets in the 6th as they look to get untracked against this tall right-hander, who falls behind on Conforto now, 3-0.
It's a real inning for the Mets to make a mark. They've got their 2, 3, 4 batters up. Third time through.
And Conforto takes a strike, 3-1. Michael has homered in each of his last 3 games. And he takes the changeup high for ball 4. And the Mets have a leadoff base runner. That's the 3rd time in 6 innings the Mets have gotten the leadoff man on. Still trying to find a way to get one home. Let's check in with Steve Gelb. Steve.
Gary, Pete Alonso stepping to the plate, and it's no secret that he grew up idolizing White Sox legend Paul Konerko. And today, for the first time ever, the two of them had a chance to speak. Konerko had been contacted by Tim Britton for an article in The Athletic about the admiration last week and decided, you know what, I'm just going to call the kid. So he called Pete Alonso today. The two spoke for about 45 minutes, a conversation that Alonso said was absolutely surreal. He said everything that Konerko said was like gospel to him. They talked about so many different things, but the one thing that really stood out to Alonso was a comparison that Konerko made. In the off seasons in the past, Konerko would spend his time in Scottsdale, Arizona, and he used to hit with a guy named Paul Goldschmidt. He told Pete Alonso that he sees a lot of similarities between him and Paul Goldschmidt, and why that matters so much is as much as Konerko was Alonso's idol growing up, in the game currently, Alonso patterns himself after Paul Goldschmidt.
Well, Paul Konerko was a tremendous asset here in Chicago for a long time. He had 439 career home runs. All but 7 came with the White Sox. He has his number retired here and really considered an icon of this franchise.
I was reading something today. They had a great trainer here. I think he's a trainer emeritus now, Herm Schneider. And he was talking about that Paul Konerko, while he was hitting, really tried to wait for the ball as long as he could to travel deep. But what would happen is he would get a lot of jammed thumb. You know, the fleshy part in between your thumb and your forefinger. And as Schneider built him inside of his hitting gloves, built him a pad that he would make 3 or 4 of, put him in Konerko's locker so he'd always have him to protect his thumb.
Alonso able to stop his swing on that changeup to get it to 3-1 after a leadoff walk to Conforto. Big pitch here for Giolito with Cano on deck. And that one caught McCann again.
He's getting beat up back there.
And a real pincushion tonight.
McCann's such a big athlete. He looks like Rob Gronkowski in catcher's equipment. Huge.
Mark Wagner dusting off home plate, a home plate that had no dust on it, in order to give McCann a moment. Alonso tonight has flied to right and struck out. Conforto at first and nobody out.
Watch the motion of Giolito. Watch his back leg. Watch where it goes. Takes it out with that short arm action and the big high kick from Giolito. Quite a move from an athlete who's 6'6" tall.
Three-2. Struck him out with the slider. 7 strikeouts for Giolito. Second time he's gotten Alonso.
Well,
1 out in the 6th.
Gary, you have to tip the cap to Giolito. He made the pitch. 3-2. He made a slider on the black. Too close to lay off by Alonso. You know, you probably see the grip from Giolito right on the side of that baseball, on the seams. If you have to guess with Giolito, you're guessing 1 or 2 pitches, right? You get the third.
So 1 out. 1 out and 1 on, and now Cano is struck out and popped up tonight. And taking all the way on that first pitch fastball, ball 1. Well, something is due to happen good for Robbie Cano. Right now he is in an 0 for 23 funk. Longest for the Mets since Brandon Nimmo went 0 for 28 earlier this year. That's lined into center field, and Cano breaks that streak with a base hit. Conforto around second. He'll go to third. Garcia's throw goes to second. So Robbie Cano snaps his 0 for 23 skid, and the Mets have runners at the corners with one out.
Good hitting by Cano. It's almost like by taking that first pitch, Gary, he was sitting on that changeup, and he knocked it into left center field. Good job by Conforto, and nice job by Garcia throwing this ball back into second base, keeping the double play option open for Giolito and the White Sox.
Well, this is one of those spots where Wilson Ramos has really got to keep the ball off the ground. He's been a ground ball hitter all year. Giolito clearly needs a ground ball to get a double play and get out of this inning and keep the lead.
Gary, best way for him is try to shoot it the other way. He's got a real talent to do that. That's his biggest hole.
Ramos is 1 for 2 tonight. Pulled a base hit to left back in the second, and he chops one the other way foul. Ramos this year is 9 for 14, getting a runner in from third with less than 2 out. That's 63%, better than the league average. Mets have really struggled so far in this series, though, with runners in scoring position. Their first 2 runs last night both came on groundouts before the home run barrage in the 11th. And that's chopped down toward third, a foul ball, and it's 0-2.
It was interesting. Conforto, when that ball went down, he went into fair territory. Never want to do that, just because, I mean, it won't happen, but if the ball takes a crazy bounce and hits you in fair territory, that would not be good.
And you're out.
Yeah. Always stay in foul territory.
Now on a ground ball to third, then you want to veer toward fair territory to make it a hard throw as you come toward home plate. 0-2 to Ramos, and he grounds one slowly, tough to turn too, so the throw comes home, and he's safe, and the game is tied. Conforto got around McCann. Goins made the right play, no chance to turn a double play. It was hit so slowly, but Conforto able to get that hand around the tag, and the Mets get even at 1.
Well, hit slowly. Goins is a really good fielder, made the choice. In a game where you're winning by a run, I might have opted first to get the sure out, but that was a great slide by Conforto. Great slide.
They're going to score that a fielder's choice, figuring that Goins did have a play at first had he decided to go there, but Conforto with the great elusive slide and got that left hand on home plate. So Ramos gets the RBI, and the Mets finally get on the board to tie the game.
You know, Gary, that play was a very easy play for third basemen in the day because the catcher would help them out.
Right.
They would get right in the front of the plate, and there would be no place for the runner to go. In today's game, so much more difficult. You almost have to throw that ball right on the plate to have that work.
So the leadoff walk comes around to score. Cano now at second, Ramos at first with 1 out, and here's J.D. Davis, who's grounded out and struck out tonight, 0 for 2. And J.D. gets crowded, and it's inside for ball 1.
It's a good matchup for J.D. I think when I think of J.D. Davis as a hitter, I think of him as a good secondary hitter. Secondary pitches, change-ups, breaking balls. That's what he'll see from Giolito.
J.D. tries to lay off, but he went around on the slider, and it's 1-1. Lucas Giolito, all-star for the first time this year, but rough lately. 7.06 ERA over his last 4 starts. But he's been awfully good so far tonight. The Mets finally able to scratch out a run here in the 6th. And JD fouls back the fastball, and it's 1-2. Get a breakdown of all the trade deadline moves and non-moves from SNY's baseball insider Andy Martino on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. Giolito has walked 3. 2 of them have come leading off innings, and the one in this inning has come around to score. Frazier on deck. 1-2 coming to Davis, and he just got a piece of that slider to hang in there. Mets picked up ground in the wild card race with their win last night to get within 5. There's such a crowd at the top, but the Nats have lost today. The Phillies are down 5-1 in the 9th. There might be a chance to pick up some more ground tonight. One-two coming. Hit on the ground is short, might be 2. Anderson to Sanchez and on to first for the double play, and that retires the side. Mets settle for just the 1 run to tie the game. 1-1 in the 6th. Watch SNY Mets games on the go on any device. Just visit SNY.TV or download the NBC Sports app today for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. Jose Abreu leads off the home 6th against Jacob DeGrom and takes a strike. Abreu delivered the first run of this game with a sacrifice fly with the bases loaded in the 3rd. DeGrom has settled in since that 3rd inning. He's retired the last 7 and struck out 5 of those 7. Changed the game plan a little bit on the fly.
2 straight fastballs to Abreu there.
A.J. Reed on deck, and then Eloy Jimenez. Each team with a run on 3 hits. And Abreu goes down swinging on the slider. 7 strikeouts now for DeGrom. Let's check in with the studio. Eamon McEnany has a game break brought to you by your local Honda dealers. Eamon. Six scoreless innings for Jeff Samardzija in that game tonight. Here's A.J. Reed, and he goes after a first pitch slider and misses. 0-1. Reed has popped up and walked tonight. He's 0 for 1.
Engine just started purring for Mr. DeGrom.
8 in a row retired. He's struck out 6 of the 8. And he blows one by Reed, and it's 0-2. Should have plenty left in the tank on a cool night with an extra day of rest since his last start. Oh, 2 to Reed. And misses high with the slider. 1-2. He's had a few of those sliders that he's left up tonight.
Yeah, that backdoor slider to lefties is a pitch he could always dial up last year. Has not been able to dial it in yet this year. Got to stay away from down, and especially down and in to Reed. Anything above the belt is fine.
Reed, a big man who the Astros gave up on, let him go on waivers to the White Sox 3 weeks ago. White Sox hoping to catch a little lightning, because Reed has had some big home run years in the minor leagues. It's never translated, at least not yet, at the big league level.
Isn't it amazing? Those there's always one a generation, it seems, of hitters that end up hitting 100+ home runs in the minors and never can make it translate.
Mike Hessman.
Mike Hessman, yes.
Valentino Pescucci.
Those are just the Mets guys.
Right. 3-2 coming to Reed. And he got him looking at the changeup. 8 strikeouts now for DeGrom, including 7 of the last 9 hitters.
That was nasty, folks. Not only because of the 3-2 pitch, not only because it was 2 strikes, but that was a ripcord changeup.
So 2 out and nobody on, and now Jimenez. And he tops one slowly to short. Rosario in to get it, and the side retired. 10 in a row retired by DeGrom. He is rolling now, 1-1 after 6 in Chicago. Well, the 70s had lots of fashion statements. None probably made less sense from a baseball standpoint than the 1976 decision to have the White Sox wear shorts in Major League Baseball games.
Ralph Garr, center field. Yes, that wall is concrete, folks.
Well, they still have a piece of Old Comiskey here. Old Comiskey, the site of the original exploding scoreboard. Todd Frazier leads off in the 7th against Lucas Giolito. Todd led off the 5th inning and hit a double that nearly got out of the ballpark. Hit just at the bottom of the yellow line at the top of the right center field fence.
There's the Old Comiskey Park shower. We're on a hot day.
Old Bill Veeck idea. Slider in for a strike, and it's 1-1 to Frazier.
I'm a fan of the outdoor shower myself, Gary. A little more privacy, though.
Yeah, you need a little enclosure.
Maybe some teak wood on the ground.
I will say this: I ran in a race on the 4th of July,
Yeah.
and it was a very, very hot day.
You ran with your daughter, right?
And it was through a neighborhood where the folks had their hoses out to cool down the runners on their way through.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
That was a fantastic thing if that's what you wanted. And that one drops in for a strike, and it's 2-2 to Frazier. That was it was a mobile outdoor shower.
Nice.
It's like kids opening a fire hydrant on a hot day. Ahmed Rosario on deck, and then Adeiny Echeverria in the 7th. Hooked foul by Frazier into the screen. I mentioned it last night. Guaranteed rate field, the first ballpark in the majors to extend that screening all the way down to the foul pole. They've had it that way in Japan for years, and Major League Baseball now catching up and providing more protection for the fans, with the ball coming off the bat harder than ever, and maybe folks not paying quite as solid attention as they used to. High breaking ball gets Frazier for the first out. That's 8 strikeouts for Giolito. Matchup of all-star pitchers tonight, both pitching like all-stars. 1 out, and now Rosario, who's come close to a hit tonight. He was robbed of one by a diving play in center field by Leury Garcia in the 2nd. Then another sinking line drive to left that Jimenez caught. Coming off a 4-hit night last night, and he takes the changeup for ball 1. And he pops this one up. Should be playable in foul ground for Goins. 2 out. Let's check in with the studio. Eamon McEnany has another game break. Eamon. All right, thanks, Eamon. Lucas Giolito trying to get through the 7th inning for the first time since the 8th of June. He's got 2 out and nobody on in the 7th. And Echeverria chasing a slider for strike one.
Giolito's slider has been much better than advertised. Spot on.
Giolito's high pitch count this year is 111. At 93 pitches in the 7th tonight. And Echeverria hooks one foul. 0-2. Giolito, his parents are both Hollywood actors, and he's putting on a show of his own tonight.
That's right.
His grandfather played the role of Susan's father on Seinfeld. Did you know that?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can picture his grandfather.
Warren Frost is his name. And Lucas is asked about that in virtually every interview he does. You know that from Keith, right? Because Seinfeld takes precedence over everything.
Everything. Fastball inside. Wegner with the right call.
His brother's an actor too, so he's kind of, you know, ditched the family business to do this baseball thing.
He's the black sheep.
Echeverria went around, strike three, side retired. 9 strikeouts for Giolito. 7th inning stretch tied at 1. Jacob DeGrom struggled to find himself early in this game, gave up a run in the 3rd, but since then he's retired 10 in a row and struck out 7 during that 10 batter span. He has already struck out John Jay twice tonight. And Jay fouls off the first pitch fastball, 0-1. Jay, Anderson, and McCann 6, 7, and 8 in the order for Chicago. That's bullpen is quiet behind DeGrom. The White Sox bullpen is starting to heat up. Ball and a strike to Jay. And he blew that fastball by him, 1-2.
Really like to know what his pitch usage. We'll check it later after about the 3rd or 4th inning. He has really started using that fastball more.
Well, you mentioned early in the game the fact that he had kind of gotten away from using that high fastball as a put-away pitch, but he's remedied that.
Yes, he has.
2 lefties up in the bullpen. Aaron Bummer and Ross Detweiler for Chicago.
You know, unlike the National League where you could have pitchers up in case the pitcher spot comes up, just in case to get them ready. Here, if they're up, they're coming in.
2-2. Line the other way, and Jay's got a leadoff hit in the bottom of the 7th. So that snaps the string of 10 in a row set down by DeGrom.
That was the backdoor slider that caught a little too much of the plate. Good hitting by Jay.
So the leadoff man on, and now Tim Anderson coming up. Anderson just got back from the injured list last night, coming back from an ankle sprain. 0 for 3 last night, 0 for 2 tonight. But not a hint of a bunt, and he's down in the count 0-1. Slider off the plate to Anderson, a ball and a strike. Anderson both times up is grounded out to the right side tonight.
You know, once you get ahead of Anderson, you just try to use his aggressive hitting style against him and don't throw anything in the zone. He doesn't walk a lot.
276 at bats this year, 7 walks. And DeGrom gets ahead of a 1-2. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Aetna Better Health in New Jersey, healthcare provider of the game. City Life Health, new location now open in Newark. Visit citylifehealth.com. By Infinity, empower the drive. And by Spectrum. Spectrum Mobile has unlimited talk, text, and data. 1-2 to Tim Anderson with McCann on deck. And he just got a piece of that slider to stay alive. 100 pitches now for DeGrom. He threw 105 in 7 innings against the Padres his last time out. Again, he's pitching on an extra day of rest. And it's a cool summer evening here in Chicago. Jake's high pitch count this year is 116.
Bullpen's empty.
1-2 coming. Lifted down the right side and foul ground. Alonso hoping for a play, but it is beyond his reach. Well, you talked about it in the open tonight, Ronnie. You know, the Mets, with the acquisition of Stroman and not making any other moves, have put their rotation in a spot where you're throwing out an outstanding starting pitcher every night. But having not addressed the bullpen, it puts a lot of pressure on these starters to pitch deep into the game every night.
Well, 2 things are going to have to happen if they're going to make the run they want. Starting pitchers are going to have to go 7+ in every game, and they're going to have to hit like they haven't hit all year. I mean, everyone combined.
1-2 coming. Anderson strikes out on the slider. That's 9 strikeouts now for DeGrom. And there's the first out in the home 7th.
Just a nasty slider, takes advantage of Anderson on that outside part. Gary, when I look at the team, you got 2 relievers right now, Edwin Diaz and Familia, that you have to try to do whatever it takes to get them back, but you don't know when they're coming back. So the bullpen is doesn't have a lot of extra parts in there. So your strengths are your hitters and your starting pitchers, because your defense has been compromised all year. So you're asking the starting pitchers to go 21 outs or more, and everyone in that lineup can do better. Alonso's had a come off to a tough start in the second half. He needs to get better where he was like in the first half. Cano certainly has lots of room of improvement. Rosario's probably the only one, in J.D. Davis. Just stay where you are right now and you're fine. Frazier, of course, could do better. Ramos could do better. All of those parts together, they do give you a shot. They do.
The properly identified Justin Wilson up in the Mets bullpen. James McCann at the plate with 1 out and 1 on. McCann, who had himself a tremendous first half this year, made the All-Star team, has tailed off since the break. And so Rick Renteria dropped him to number 8 in the order tonight for the first time since the first week of the season. He started the year as a number 8 hitter, then got off to such a great start. After the first 5 games, he hadn't seen the 8th spot again until tonight. He's gone 0 for 2 tonight, a ground out and a strikeout. There goes Jay, and it's a hit and run play, and McCann fouls it off. Jay is not a base stealer, and McCann trying to take one the other way, but fouled it off.
Well, it's the right play, because it's hard to put 2, 3 or more hits together against DeGrom, so Renteria is trying something different.
McCann 7 for 58 since the All-Star break. And he lines one into left field for a base hit. Jay pulls in there at second, and so James McCann rifling a single to left field, and the White Sox have the go-ahead run in scoring position with 1 out.
One of the rare pitches from DeGrom that's up in the strike zone that is tomahawked by McCann. So maybe the 8th hole is his hole.
DeGrom upset with himself. He's now given up 5 hits on the night. He's got the number 9 hitter Yolmer Sanchez coming up. And Mickey Callaway not moving an inch. Sanchez 1 for 2 tonight, singled and scored the White Sox run in the 3rd. These games have been compelling the last 2 nights. Change up in for a strike, 0-1. Syndergaard was wonderful last night. Mets squandered a lot of opportunities, let the lead get away late, won it in the 11th. Tonight, 2 all-stars pitching at the top of their game, and DeGrom just trying to wind his way through this inning. Sanchez fouls it away, and it's 0-2. Jerry's Familia gets up alongside Justin Wilson.
We saw a lot of those same numbers last night.
Wow. DeGrom ahead in the count, 0-2. And he misses high to Sanchez, 1-2. Jay at second, McCann at first. Not much speed out there. One, two coming, and he chops it foul.
Well, Sanchez has been a tough out in this series. Fouled off a lot of tough pitches. He's taken a lot of close pitches for walks, gotten his base hits.
On base 4 times last night, 1 for 2 tonight. Larry Garcia is on deck. DeGrom about to throw his 110th pitch. Most he's thrown in a game in 6 weeks. 1-2 coming. Struck him out. Got him with a changeup. 10 strikeouts for DeGrom. The 7th time this year he struck out 10 or more. The 39th time in his career. 2 out.
Back-to-back double-digit strikeouts for Mets pitching. Syndergaard last night and DeGrom tonight. See the grip on that changeup. Ball is just coming out of the top of his fingertips. That's why he's able to throw that pitch 91, 92, 93 mile an hour.
So 2 out and 2 on, and now up to the top of the batting order, and Larry Garcia, who's 1 for 3 tonight, dumped a single into left in the 3rd. Flied out and struck out his other 2 at bats. Well, the Phillies lost tonight. The Nats lost this afternoon. The Cubs are playing the Cardinals right now. And that's how the wild card standings look at the moment. Nets have already passed by 4 teams in the last 2 weeks to get within 5. Letter high strike, and it's 1-1. Just the 2nd time this year that the Mets have had back-to-back double-digit strikeout games from their starters. Syndergaard last night, DeGrom tonight. He needs to get himself 1 more out. One and 1 to Garcia, and the changeup fouled off. And it's 1-2. He began the night with that changeup in his pocket, but he has taken it out and used it very effectively through the middle to late innings.
So slider for a ball, slider for a strike, changeup for a swinging strike. Every place is open for DeGrom here.
1-2 coming to Garcia. And he fists it foul. Jay carrying the lead run at second. Davis playing very shallow in left field. On a base hit to left field, he might have a chance to get Jay at the plate with his strong arm. 1-2 coming, and it's fouled away. Another changeup from DeGrom. Be interesting to see Davis really unleash a throw to the plate. We know he's got a great arm. The question is, does he have the stroke from the outfield to throw a guy out at the plate?
You know, he threw one last night where someone wasn't coming home. It was a strike to the plate, so he's got it.
Sixth pitch of the at bat coming to Garcia. Struck him out. DeGrom with his 11th strikeout of the night. Ramos throws it down to first to complete it, and DeGrom has gotten through 7 brilliant innings tonight. 11 strikeouts. Now Rick Renteria is claiming that that ball was fouled, and the home plate umpire Mark Wegner is asking his colleagues whether they saw a foul ball, so hold your horses.
I don't think that ball was fouled, especially by the reaction of Ramos.
Garcia immediately felt as though he had gotten a piece of it, and Wegner's coming over to Renteria, and he's going to get no satisfaction. So none of the other umpires had a different look at it, and so the inning has come to an end, and DeGrom with 11 strikeouts through 7 with a commanding performance yet again tonight. And Rick Renteria goes away unsatisfied. Satisfying though for DeGrom. Now let's see if the Mets can get him a run as they come up in the 8th. We're going to the 8th inning. The Mets and White Sox tied 1-1. Jacob DeGrom striking out Larry Garcia to end the bottom of the 7th inning. And after the play was over, both Garcia and White Sox manager Rick Renteria arguing that Garcia had gotten a piece of that ball and had actually fouled it at the plate. Renteria coming out of the dugout saying he fouled it, and Mark Wegner, the home plate umpire, went and talked to his umpiring colleagues. Here's what it looked like.
Slider down and in.
And Garcia felt as though he had tipped it. Ramos with the ball on the ground threw it to first base to complete the putout. But after Wegner talked to the other 3 umpires, they did not change the call.
They did not. It was impossible to see if he did foul it off, but usually in that circumstance, Ramos catches that clean, right?
You would think. But DeGrom and the Mets got the benefit of the call. Now the White Sox go to their bullpen. Aaron Bummer comes on for the 2nd straight night.
Pitched a scoreless 8th inning last night.
Top of the batting order, Jeff McNeil leads off in the 8th in a tie game and lays off the first pitch slider, nothing, 1-0. McNeil's gone 0 for 3 tonight. A fly ball and 2 strikeouts against Lucas Giolito, who was terrific for 7. He allowed a run on 3 hits, 3 walks, 9 strikeouts, 97 pitches. And now the White Sox, who are blessed with 4 lefties in their bullpen, go to the first of them in Bummer, who's had a terrific season for Chicago.
Well, the All-Stars lived up to their marquee.
Ross Detweiler, the veteran left-hander, up in the bullpen now for Chicago. And that one catches the inside corner. 1-2 to McNeil. Mets have managed just 3 hits tonight. Ramos singled in the 2nd. Frazier doubled in the 5th. Cano singled in the 6th. That's been it. And McNeil pops one up into shallow left, and Anderson will go out to get it and makes the catch. He wants to catch every pop-up.
Yes, he does.
Jimenez was thinking about calling him off and then thought better of it.
You know, certain infielders are better than others at catching pop-ups, and the ones that are good at it, they want every one.
Ray Ordonez was like that.
Was he?
He would go a half a mile to get a pop-up, and everybody knew, stay out of his way. Don't call him off.
I played with some infielders that wanted no part of a pop-up.
Michael Conforto takes a fastball off the plate from Bummer. Michaels walked twice tonight and fouled out. He homered against the left-hander last night. It was Josh Osich in the 11th inning. In fact, McNeil and Conforto went back-to-back in that 11th, and we mentioned earlier it was the first time the Mets had ever hit back-to-back home runs in extra innings. It was also only the 3rd time that the Mets have had 2 left-hand hitters go back-to-back against the lefty. The other 2 times, Hernandez and Strawberry.
Yeah. Those guys.
Yeah. Cutter misses off the plate, 2-1.
We don't want them to get a big head. Don't say too much.
Yeah, because that's never going to happen. By the way, both the times that Keith and Darryl did that, it was in the same year, 1988. Once against the Reds and once against the Cardinals. Chopped on the right side, and Sanchez with a beautiful play, and he throws him out. They didn't have the overshift on that time against Conforto, and Michael nearly snuck one up the middle, but Yomer Sanchez, a terrific play.
I'll tell you, we've seen some really good defense the last 2 days by this White Sox club. None better than this one. Right up the middle, got up quickly, and fired a strike.
So 2 up and 2 set aside. And now Pete Alonso, who had a base hit against Bummer last night. Pete's gone 0 for 3 tonight, a strikeout in each of his last 2 at bats.
It's due for a long one.
It's due for a long one against a reliever, something he did a lot early in the season. He was the king of the home run from the 7th inning on. Nothing's coming real easily for Pete right now, though. Batting with 2 out and nobody on in a tie game. And Bummer misses badly with that one, 2-1. And he skips the fastball into Pete, and it's 3-1. Well, you got Cano on deck.
You'll see a breaking pitch here.
I would certainly not expect him to groove anything for Alonso.
You got it, Gary.
And Pete takes a fastball that misses ball 4. I think Pete thought that was a strike. But Mark Wegner said no.
Yeah, everyone did except the home plate umpire.
So the Mets have a 2-out base runner. Day game tomorrow, final game of the series. Zach Wheeler is still a Met. Takes on Dylan Cease.
Can't go anywhere now.
Well, it's interesting because Brody Van Wagenen was asked earlier today, does this mean that since you didn't trade Wheeler that you're going to give him the qualifying offer in the offseason, which would at least get the Mets a draft pick if he left as a free agent? And of course, you know, Brody demurred. He didn't commit to anything, but it certainly seems as though that would be the Mets' plan. Either sign Zach to a longer-term contract or give him the qualifying offer. If he takes it, great. If not, then you get a draft pick as a result. Cano had a base hit his last time up to snap his 0 for 23 stretch, and he takes a fastball for a strike from Bummer, 1-1. But I think Zach is just happy to be past the trading deadline.
I mean, you have to ask any more questions about it. Sitting on the bench, you feel like you're alone on an island. You know, guys are coming up to you. Hey, when we go to Pittsburgh, you want to go out to dinner on Saturday? Oh, sorry.
Oh. 2-1 to Cano. And the fastball away, and Bummer falls behind 3-1. After walking Alonso, you got Wilson Ramos standing on deck. There's nobody up in the bullpen for the White Sox. They had Detweiler up. I'm not quite sure why. They had another lefty throwing, but there's no right-hander up behind Bummer. 3-1 to Cano, and Robbie swings and grounds one to the left side, handled by Goins, and that retires the side. A walk and one left. We head for the bottom of the 8th. Still 1-1. Not far from here, the Navy Pier, jutting out into Lake Michigan. Always a nice place to take the kids.
That's right.
I hear one of the seats on the Ferris wheel there has a glass bottom. You can look down through.
Really?
Yeah. Justin Wilson on to pitch the bottom of the 8th. Ryan Goins leads off. Well, Groundhog Day for Jacob DeGrom.
Oh.
116 pitches, matching his season high. 7 innings, 1 run, 5 hits, 2 walks, 11 strikeouts. More unalloyed brilliance from DeGrom, and another no decision.
Both starters pitch great, Gary.
Brought to you by People's United Bank. Giolito was good. DeGrom was great. Another ND next to his name. 0-2 coming. And slider off the plate. 1-2. So DeGrom lowered his ERA from 2.86 to 2.78. He was 5th in the league coming into the night. Back toward the middle. Cano to his right on the backhand, can't make the play. And Goins is safe at first to start the bottom of the 8th. Not sure if he would have had a chance to get Goins. And they'll score that an infield hit.
Well, what's interesting about that play, if you've watched Cano's entire career, is that probably is known as his signature play, his ability to go up the middle and throw across his body, but never got to hand it.
So the leadoff man aboard against Wilson, and now Jose Abreu, who's driven to the only Chicago run tonight with a sacrifice fly in the 3rd. Otherwise 0 for 2. And a huge cut of the cutter. 0-1. You don't see Abreu swing out of his socks like that very often. But he clearly had it in mind. He was going to attack that first pitch and try and hit it out of the ballpark. Abreu has faced Wilson before and done well. 4 hits and 6 career at bats against him. And that one gets away from Ramos. Goins to second, and he's safe. Close play. He might have gotten him. And Cano wants the Mets to look at it. But the Mets have already challenged a call and lost. So they don't have a challenge in their pocket. They would have to ask for a crew chief review, which you can do in the 8th inning.
Well, it was bang bang at second base.
And the Mets will not challenge.
Kind of got stuck in the dirt on his slide, Goins. Boy, I think he got him.
So the go-ahead run in scoring position with nobody out. 1-1 to Abreu.
I thought he got him. Not from this view, because it's harder to see. But we had another view from home plate that I thought I saw contact before Cohen's hand at the base.
Abreu takes another big cut and comes up empty on the cutter. 1-2.
Be very careful on those challenges early in the game.
Yep, well, that's a couple of times the Mets have gotten burned on that, but they did not ask for a crew chief review, which you can do because it's the 8th inning. So obviously the Mets video coordinator must have told the dugout that it was not a play that they should make a fuss about.
Well, maybe the bench should ignore those guys and make the decision on what they saw.
Line caught by Alonso and no play at second. If you were playing a normal defense, you might have had a chance at a double play. But because Rosario was so far over in the hole, it was up to Cano to get back to the bag. And that's who Alonso was looking at.
Well, I think also, Gary, because Cano was holding Goins so close to the bag, he never got that huge secondary lead. Goins is a heady player, smart play.
So Abreu lines out for the first out of the inning. And now we're going to get a pinch hitter. Wellington Castillo, the backup catcher, will bat for A.J. Reed to give them a right-handed bat. So Goins at second with 1 out. And Castillo pinch hitting in the DH spot. And the cutter runs inside for ball 1. Wellington Castillo began his career on the other side of town. Played the first 5 years of his career for the Cubs. Hitting just 180 this year. And Wilson falls behind him 2-0. Castillo's got pop. He's hit as many as 20 home runs in a season. .2-0 coming, and that's outside ball 3. First base is open. Eloy Jimenez is waiting on deck. A leadoff infield hit for Goins. A short wild pitch got him to second. Now Wilson behind on Castillo, 3-0. And he walked him on 4 pitches. So 2 aboard with 1 out. And now Eloy Jimenez comes up. It's been a rough series for Jimenez so far. 0 for 3 tonight, 0 for 2 in the 2 games. And the 22-year-old comes up here with 2 aboard and 1 out. And Wilson starts him off with a fastball off the plate for ball 1.
We've seen this from Justin from time to time. He kind of loses the strike zone every once in a while.
Wilson faced just 1 batter last night. In fact, he threw only 1 pitch. Gave up a bunt single to John Jay. And he runs 1 inside, and it's 2-0 to Jimenez. So 6 straight out of the strike zone from Justin Wilson.
Again, another time for a visit or an infielder, just to change it up a little.
Now the Mets have 3 mound visits left, and we're in the 8th inning, so there's no reason not to. 2-0 to Jimenez. And now ball 3. A walk would load the bases and bring up John Jay. Familia up in the bullpen. Lugo worked last night. Might not be available. Gesellman worked 2 innings last night. Almost certainly is not available.
Jimenez made an out on a 3-0 count in his last at bat.
This time he takes a strike, 3-1. Goins at second, Castillo at first with 1 out. 3-1 coming to Jimenez. And he swings through the fastball, 3-2. That's as hard a pitch as we've seen Justin Wilson throw this year.
Oh, he's gotten himself into a point where he's in challenge mode.
Three-two coming. And he takes strike 3 call. A cutter caught him looking, and that's the 2nd out. Big strikeout for Justin Wilson, and they're at 2 down.
Just a perfect pitch from Wilson. Cutter on that inside corner, framed by Ramos. See that grip on the side of the ball, the tight little dot. Perfect pitch on the knees.
So Wilson comes back from 3-0 to strike out Eloy Jimenez, and now they're at 2 out and 2 on. And John Jay, the batter. Jay had a base hit to left field against DeGrom his last time up, 1 for 3 on the night. And Wilson runs it inside, ball 1. Jay is 1 for 6 in his career against Wilson. And he fouls back the fastball. Had a good cut at that, 1-1. DeGrom stranded 2 runners in the 7th. Wilson trying to do the same in the 8th. One to Jay, and he fouls it away, and now it's 1-2. John Jay, who missed the first 2.5 months of the season because of a hip injury, just really getting his season on track. But he's always been a really good hitter and hitting over 300 this year. 1-2 from Wilson, and he sails the fastball high, 2-2. Straight out of the 1919. Two out, 2 on, 2-2 to Jay. Back toward the middle. It hits the umpire. It's in play. Racing around is Goins. He will score. And now they're waving it off. I believe because the umpire was on the infield,
yes,
that's 1 base. If the umpire's in the outfield and gets hit, the ball is in play. But because the umpire was on the infield, they will send Goins back to 3rd, and it's 1 base.
You're right, Gary. It's a base hit, and the runners go to the next base. That's it.
Not sure why Stu Sherwater didn't react more immediately after he got hit with that ball. But that is the proper call, and the fans are booing. You can understand, but that is the ruling. If he's on the infield and he gets hit, the ball is dead. It's like if it hits the base runner.
I don't know if Cano gets to the baseball if it hadn't hit the umpire. That could be a break for the Mets. Wilson wasn't sure of the rule either. I think that Sherwater just might have been taking him some time, Gary, just because.
Might have been stunned.
Stunned from being hit, you know.
Mickey Callaway is on his way out to the mound. The White Sox have the bases loaded with 2 out. The right-hand hitter Tim Anderson coming up. Familia's been throwing in the bullpen. What do?
You leave Wilson in. Wilson gives you your best chance to throw strikes in this situation with the bases loaded. You leave him in the ball game. What do you think, Gary? This is a tough call. I think Cano might have gotten it to it, but he definitely wasn't going to make a play on it.
You know, it's a situation where if you're Cano, you have to be thinking about diving for that ball to knock it down to make sure you keep it in the infield more than anything else.
I'm not sure if he would have got to it.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Mets might have caught a break.
Yeah, Sherwater did call time, so he did react promptly. So, the bases are loaded with 2 down. Tim Anderson coming up. Anderson 0 for 3 tonight, 0 for 6 in this series. And he fouls off the first pitch cutter, 0-1. It's been an uneven inning for Wilson. He's given up 2 infield hits and a walk. Also got a line drive out along the way.
Wild pitch, or was it a pass ball or wild pitch?
Wild pitch.
Wild pitch.
Anderson, a good clutch hitter, having his best season at the plate, but just recently back from the injured list. Trying to pick up the lead run from third with 2 out. Hit hard, but right at Rosario, and he gets the force to end the inning. Wilson able to squirm his way out of trouble with the help of a well-stationed umpire. 1-1 after 8. Coming up tonight after the postgame show, it's Geico Sports Night. All the action from today's trading deadline. And, of course, the football and basketball news, too, coming up. Geico Sports Night tonight, right after the postgame, right here on SNY. Well, we go into the late innings in a low-scoring game for the second straight night. And for the second straight night, the White Sox will bring in their closer to a tie game. Alex Colomé is in.
Pitched a scoreless 9th last night, just gave up a base hit. Colomé's the closer that no one knows about.
Wilson Ramos leads off for the Mets in the top of the 9th. And the first pitch skips in to the beleaguered James McCann, who last night got one off the shoulder that might have grazed his nose. Tonight has had one hit in a sensitive area and then got hit in the throat as well. Ramos can commiserate. Ramos is driven in the only Met run. He drove in Michael Conforto from third with a ground ball. Conforto with a great slide beating the tag at the plate. This one's grounded toward the hole. Anderson on the backhand, but he bobbles it, and Ramos is safe at first. Even after he bobbled it and picked it up, he might have still had a chance to get Ramos, and he made a quick throw, but I don't think he realized who was running.
Yeah, I agreed with you, Gary. He was trying to throw on the run across his body, did not get the handle, and kind of gave up on the play.
But even at that point where he picked it up,
yeah, I believe you're right.
He might have had a chance, but I think he really had no concept of who was running. And so the Mets get a leadoff base runner. It'll be an error charge to Anderson. And now J.D. Davis will try and make something of it. That's how both Juan Lagares and Aaron Altair on the bench, who could pinch run in this spot for Ramos. But Mickey Callaway opting to keep them where they are. I mean, it's an American League game. You don't need pinch hitters.
That's right.
How else are you going to deploy your personnel? other than to use them in this spot.
This spot or defensively. I certainly would use it. I was thinking in the back of my mind about a National League game and thinking, boy, wouldn't it be interesting if Stroman's first time on a field was as a pinch runner.
Fly ball along the right field line toward the corner. Now back near the wall, and that lands just foul. Just foul. Jay making the sliding attempt in the corner, and J.D. Davis missed an extra base hit by inches.
I mean, Jay sells out.
Ooh,
boy, that
wait a
ball's
second.
a fair ball.
If that ball hit the yellow line, it's fair, and that might be one that the umpires need to review.
That ball hit fair to me, in my estimation. See how that white line stops, Gary, right before the yellow pole for the foul pole? That's where I thought it landed.
I mean, there seems to be no line right there at that connection.
There it is.
Right, there's a blank spot there, which makes it that much more difficult to see. Well,
right, that looks foul there to me.
Yeah.
From that angle, it looks foul.
I agree, but the problem is there's no white line, so you can't really tell for sure.
There should be one all the way to the fence, shouldn't there?
For some reason, there is no line those last few inches between where the line stops and the yellow line starts on the wall.
I agree with the umpires. I think they made the right call. It's foul. From the one angle, it looked maybe it could be fair. That other angle looked foul.
Well, that's going to be a hard one for them to parse in the replay center. Fielding Colbreth and Angel Hernandez are the crew chiefs in the replay center in Chelsea, and I don't think they're going to change this call.
No, they're not going to change the call. It also was made doubly hard for the umpires because John Jay was sliding to try to make the catch.
Well, you know, if there's a line there, it could have hit the line, but it's just really hard to tell since there's no line.
I mean,
they extended the foul netting down the line. They just forgot to extend the foul line.
I mean, you know, that could have caught just the outside of the line.
Yep.
And then watching the base runners the way I did on that play, Ramos wouldn't have gotten to third, I don't think.
See, now in left field, it's kind of jagged, but at least there's a line that makes it, well, almost to the pole. But in right field, there's not.
It's like a tape too. It doesn't even seem like it's a chalk line.
Well, I don't know why there is no line there, but that's kind of inexcusable on the part of the grounds crew not to have extended the line all the way to the foul pole.
9
because
o'clock.
that has created a huge problem right here in this particular circumstance. It's the closest look we can give. Would it have hit the line if there was one? Davis thought the ball was going out, I think. It did not. It landed shy of the wall, and let's see. They're going to say foul ball, so they're not going to overturn the call.
There's no way they could.
Yep, you're right. If there was a line, then perhaps there was a way to know, but there's no line, so there's no way to know. I mean, how is that possible in a major league ballpark that there's no foul line?
Wow.
That's the left field corner, but in right field, no line.
And that one's a tape line, and the one in right field is a chalk line, just not chalked all the way, like a bad cue.
Crazy. All right, so Davis back in with a 1-1 count. Ramos still at first with nobody out. Colomé has had a long time to think about his next pitch. And Davis fouls the cutter into the ground, and it's 1-2. JD, who's been so hot, is 0 for 3 tonight and 0 for 5 in this series. Getting a chance to play every day right now with Dom Smith on the shelf, and we got the news today that Dom's going to be in a boot with that stress reaction in his left foot for at least 3 weeks before they can even consider returning him to baseball activity. So it's going to be a long stretch for Dom on the injured list. And with the shopping market now closed, it's J.D. Davis's job right now every day to play left field. 1-2 coming. And he fouls this one away.
Well, I've never seen that before, Gary.
No, I don't think I have either. Major League ballpark without the foul line extended to the corner. It's kind of inexcusable. I mean, I don't know how else to say it.
There's no other way to say it.
I guarantee it'll be there tomorrow. 1-2 coming. And it's up the middle, base hit. Ramos pulls in at second. J.D. Davis down in the count, rifles one back up the middle, and the Mets are in business, first and second, and nobody out.
Well, that was good hitting by J.D. Davis, and great job mentally to stay in for that at bat.
Got it under the glove of Colomé and into center field, and now with the go-ahead run in scoring position, Mickey Callaway will pinch run for Ramos and bring Aaron Altair into the game. So he was waiting, I guess, for that runner to be to second base before he made the move. So Ramos have reached on the error out of the game. Altair running for him at second. Davis at first with nobody out. Todd Frazier the batter. Todd hit one off the top of the wall in right center for a double in the fifth. Now a chance to give the Mets the lead against his old team. The corners are in as though they're expecting a bunt from Frazier. Todd is not bunted. And it's hit through the hole, base hit. Altair around third. He's being waved home. Jay won't make a throw, and the Mets have the lead. Todd Frazier goes the other way with the first pitch, and the Mets lead 2-1 in the ninth.
Outstanding hitting by Todd Frazier, taking advantage of that shift, going the other way the entire time, and finds a hole against his old team. Fastball away, was ready for it. An outstanding hitting, and Altair got an unbelievable jump at second base.
He'd been waiting all night for that opportunity.
Right.
Able to sprint his 180 feet to bring home the go-ahead run. And now Rosario the batter, and the Mets will look to tack on. Now the question is, who's going to close this game for the Mets? Is it going to be Diaz or somebody else? Rosario the batter, and again they pinch in as though they're expecting a bunt. Ahmed's 0 for 3 tonight. You got the number 9 hitter Echeverria on deck, so I think he's swinging.
I agree with you.
He does square and looks awkward doing it and fouls it off.
I don't get this. He's your hottest hitter on the ball club with Conforto. Let him swing the bat.
Edwin Diaz is up in the bullpen. So after Diaz blew the save last night, Mickey Callaway's not going to shy away from him in the ninth inning tonight.
So maybe that's why he's playing for the bunt, maybe to get some extra runs for some wiggle room.
Well,
I would let Rosario hit.
A double in the gap would bring home runs.
Yes, it would.
He's swinging here, but he comes up empty on the cutter, and it's 0-2. And I really have to question that first pitch bunt.
Yeah. I mean, over the course of a season, there might be a time that Rosario's struggling, and you would call for a bunt, but right now he's been spot on.
Davis at second, Frazier at first, nobody out. And Rosario lays off the cutter in the dirt, 1-2. So in this series, in the first 8 innings last night and tonight, the Mets are 0 for 19 with runners in scoring position. From the 9th inning on, they're 2 for 2. McNeil last night in the 11th. Frazier tonight in the 9th.
Takes a little time to get going, I guess.
Just the matchups. Got to get the matchups right. 1-2 to Rosario, and he strikes out for the first down of the inning. So that Colomé cutter too much for Ahmed to handle.
That was unlike any at bat he's taken in the last 3 weeks.
So now it's Echeverria. who has walked and struck out twice. Echeverria 1 for 3 in his career against Colomé. Tonight he's walked and struck out twice. Mets have had just 5 hits tonight, but they've had 2 of them here in the 9th inning to produce an unearned run. And when buried in the dirt, and McCann able to stop it. And I go back to the first play of the inning, where Anderson botched the ground ball by Ramos, but didn't have the presence of mind to throw the ball to first base. And you have to wonder, had he realized that it was Ramos running and made a hurried throw, would he have had a chance to get him?
If you want to take a step backwards, he didn't have to play it on the run. He could have played it very conservatively, right? Stopped, got his feet, and made the throw.
And I wonder how much of that is simple unfamiliarity when you play an interleague game.
Except, you know, Ramos was with Tampa Bay last year, so I mean, I would think at some point he would have to know Wilson and his, you know, lack of speed.
1-on-1 to Echeverria with McNeil on deck, and a Danny fouls one off, and it's 1-2. Now, this was a terrific pitchers duel tonight between 2 all-stars. Jacob DeGrom and Lucas Giolito both held up their end. Aaron Bummer pitched a clean 8th inning for the White Sox. Justin Wilson somehow found his way out of trouble in the 8th with the help of an umpire. And the Mets have taken the lead in the 9th. And McCann stops that one that rolled just behind his feet, and it's 2-2. I think McCann might get a day off tomorrow. I believe he's earned it.
He has earned it.
Battle scarred in these 2 games. Two and 2 to Echeverria. And he chops that one foul. Just cutter after cutter after cutter from Colomé.
J.D. Davis was the only one that was able to get it airborne.
Alex Colomé in the ranks of the non-traded player today. Much rumored, not traded. Deals the 2-2, and Echeverria fouls back the fastball.
I wonder if going forward, Gary, with all the players that were mentioned and how much, because of maybe social media and other things, they were all over the place, their names, if GMs will maybe be a little more mum about those kind of things.
Boy,
it's hard to do.
You know, I've made the case for that for a long time.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can unring that bell. In the dirt, 3-2, and yet there were plenty of players traded today that nobody had talked about.
That's right.
You know, who mentioned Scooter Gennett's name? Who mentioned Zach Greinke's name as a prime trade target? It was Robbie Ray that everybody thought was going to get traded.
Jed Jerko.
Right. Well, Echeverria has worked his way to a full count. Davis at second, Frazier at first. 8th pitch of the at bat coming. And he takes it inside, ball 4. How about that? What a turn at bat by Echeverria to load up the bases. So Colomé, after having the leadoff error committed behind him, has given up 2 hits and a walk. Mets have a run home and a chance for more in this top of the 9th.
I'm surprised Renteria didn't have a left-hander here. With a day game tomorrow, you don't want Colomé out there and take him to a place where he's not available tomorrow. Got all those left-handers.
Got 4 lefties in the bullpen. He used 3 of them last night. But Colomé is going to stay in to face McNeil as Don Cooper, the pitching coach, goes out to the mound.
Don Cooper must be the longest tenured pitching coach. I think Dave Righetti had a lot of time for Rags. Hung it up a couple of years ago.
Balsley in San Diego.
Balsley, there you go. Okay.
He's been there a long time.
I think this is Don's 17th year, 32nd year with the organization. Good guy. That means something when you've been able to work through all the different kinds of ways people think about baseball.
Well, a chance for Jeff McNeil to expand the Mets lead. McNeil's gone 0 for 4 tonight. Flied out, struck out twice, popped up. Davis, Frazier, and Echeverria, the base runners, with 1 out. White Sox will play in at the corners, and then they put the shift on with their middle infielders, but they'll keep them at double play depth. It'll make it hard to turn 2 in the middle. Big shortstop hole open for McNeil.
Colomé doesn't like it, I'll tell you that. He's looking back at his fielders like, really?
White Sox get another reliever going, but it's a right-hander, Jimmy Cordero, getting up behind Colomé. And McNeil lays off the first cutter, ball 1. There's Cordero. They had Detweiler up earlier, but they sat him down, the lefty. They used Fry and Osich, the other 2 lefties, last night. And now Colomé falls behind on McNeil, 2-0. You know how hard it is to fall behind McNeil 2-0?
In an RBI situation.
The man's swinging the bat from the time he leaves the dugout.
And he gets in the cab.
And now he's in a great spot. And McNeil fouls back the fastball. Well, he got the pitch he wanted to hit. See him holding his hand awkwardly. See him flexing that right hand.
Big swing there on that pitch.
Two 2-1 coming to McNeil, and he fouls that one away, and it's 2-2.
You know, hitters will tell you when they get that in their wrist, they call it kind of a stinger, you know, kind of the wrist rolls over on a big swing.
Michael Conforto on deck. 2-2 to McNeil with the bases full. And he goes down swinging on the cutter for the second out.
You know, guys, we were just showing Jeff McNeil seemingly bothered by something. I will say this, he heads right down into the tunnel there. I've noticed throughout the night that he's seemingly been sapped of his normal energy. So I don't know if this is something that has been bothering him all game. We'll find out afterwards, but he's usually very energetic in the dugout, and today, for the most part, he's seemingly been just kind of sitting there watching what's happening on the field.
Thanks, Steve. So 2 out now, and it's left to Conforto, who has walked twice, otherwise 0 for 2, robbed of a hit on a fine play by Sanchez his last time up. And he lines one through the hole, base hit. In to score is Davis. Here comes Frazier. He will score. Echeverria to third. Michael Conforto tacks on 2 with a base hit. And the Mets lead 4-1 in the 9th. Big 2-out hit for Conforto, and the Mets have some breathing room in the 9th inning.
Well, Conforto stays hot, and the crack of that hit off the bat, you could resonate it all over the stadium, right by the second baseman. Sanchez and Frazier, that secondary lead, 2-out jump, anything on contact, get going, and he got a great jump. And then the contact for Conforto, that classic swing of that first pitch right down the middle after Colomé had gotten behind McNeil.
That knocks Colomé out of the game. He gives up a couple of unearned runs in the 9th. In comes Jimmy Cordero. We'll be right back. Jimmy Cordero comes on to try and clean up the mess for the White Sox in the 9th.
Well, Cordero, another guy who throws 95 to 100. Just came up at the end of July after the All-Star break, so only a little bit of work here for the White Sox.
Pitched for the Nationals last year, 22 games, has been waived a couple of times since then. Pitched for Toronto earlier this year. Comes in to face Pete Alonso and misses with a fastball. Well, the Tim Anderson error opened the inning. That makes all 3 runs in this inning unearned. Todd Frazier with the hit that gave the Mets the lead. Conforto with the 2-out hit that gave the Mets insurance. And now runners at the corners with 2 out for Alonso, who's 0 for 3 and a walk tonight. And he has to lean out of the way of that Cordero pitch, and that's about what we remember from Jimmy Cordero. Big arm, no control. Last year with the Nats, 19 innings, 12 walks.
Big at bat by Echeverria in the sitting, Gary.
Fell behind in the count. Fouled off a couple, worked out a walk. Broken bat, 1 hopper. Anderson's got that and gets the force to end the inning. But the Mets put up 3 unearned runs to give Edwin Diaz a cushion going to the bottom of the 9th. It's 4-1. Well, right back to the well. Edwin Diaz, who was all over the place last night, will come in to try and earn the save.
Mickey Callaway before the game said Edwin Diaz is my closer, and he is out there again.
Last night suffered his 5th blown save of the year and has rarely looked as erratic as he did last night. Was able to keep the White Sox from winning it, though, in the 9th inning after he gave up the tying run without a base hit. And he will try and protect a 3-run lead tonight in the 9th. James McCann, who nearly got beamed by Diaz last night, leads off and takes a fastball for a strike. McCann at a base hit his last time up, a single to left against Jacob DeGrom, who went the first 7. Allowed a run on 5 hits. Justin Wilson got into and out of trouble in the 8th, and now he's pitcher of record on the long side. And a good slider by Diaz to get ahead 0-2.
Fastball up and in for a strike. Slider down and away.
That's for the new outfield alignment. Victory formation is, as it were. McNeil in left, Altair in center, Conforto in right. Nito now doing the catching after Ramos left for the pinch runner. And McCann fouls back the fastball. Yolmer Sanchez on deck, and then Leury Garcia for the White Sox in the 9th. 0-2 coming, and he struck him out with the slider. So Diaz fans the first man to face him. One down in the last of the ninth.
Well, that's the slider that many people talked about in his record-setting year last year. Starts on the plate, ends up a foot outside with some snap to it.
You know, Ronnie, we haven't talked a lot about it, but Diaz was one of those names that got floated on the trade market over the last week or two. Do you think maybe the fact that he wasn't traded eases his mind a bit?
Well, considering what he looked like last night, I mean, almost kind of a basket case last night when he was out there. So I don't know that. You'd only have to be Edwin to know that, because that's what we saw most of last night, that pitch. But if he is able to get through this game 1, 2, 3, boy, night and day.
Well, almost took out the bull with that last pitch. Marcus Stroman saying, "This is how I like to pitch." He and Ramos will be working together Saturday night in Pittsburgh. Sinker, curveball.
Yeah.
2-1 coming, and Sanchez takes a fastball outside. 3-1. I believe if you read lips, Stroman said to Ramos, "I'll throw any pitch at any time."
Every pitcher says that, by the way. It's not until you get into the game that you prove that. Nice pitch there from Diaz. I mean, we're just looking for little victories here. You know, the ability to throw a strike when he has to. Somehow get his confidence.
Larry Garcia on deck. 3-2 coming to Sanchez, and he got him looking. 2 men down. Fastball in the inside corner. Back-to-back strikeouts for Diaz, and thus the White Sox are down to their final out. Day game tomorrow. Starts at 2 o'clock Eastern time. 1:30 the coverage on SNY. Zach Wheeler for the Mets. Dylan Cease just his 5th big league start for Chicago. And the Mets hope to be going for their 2nd straight series sweep. They're 1 out away from their 6th consecutive win. And a lot of smiles in that dugout as Wheeler gets ready for his start tomorrow. Garcia takes a fastball for a strike. Garcia 1 for 4 tonight. Struck out his last 2 at bats against DeGrom, who was merely brilliant again tonight. Ball and a strike to Garcia. Edwin Diaz bidding for his 24th save of the year. One coming, and that's away. I think Callaway said tonight, basically, look, if we're going for it, and we're truly going for it, then we need Diaz to be good. And if he's not good, there's really no path to getting there.
That's right.
Fly ball left center field. Back goes Altair deep in the gap near the wall. It's out of here. Larry Garcia with his 6th home run of the year gets the White Sox closer. It's now 4-2 New York. And Diaz's home run issues continue.
Well, you're up 3 runs. You got to challenge the hitter there. He did. And in today's game, anything in the air could be in trouble.
Edwin Diaz, in his wonderful season last year for Seattle, gave up 5 home runs all year. He's now given up 9 this season. Ryan Goins takes outside ball 1, and this becomes an enormous batter because you got Jose Abreu on deck. So if Goins were to get aboard, Abreu would come up as the tying run. Goins has had a good night, subbing for the injured Yohan Moncada. He's gone 2 for 3 and a walk. And Seth Lugo is up as a safety net in the Mets bullpen.
Nice pitch.
Backdoor slider for a strike, and it's 1-2. 1-2 coming. He struck him out, and the ball game is over. Edwin Diaz bounces back, striking out 3 in the 9th. The Mets score 3 in the 9th. The big hit from Todd Frazier to put the Mets in front. 6 straight victories now for New York as the Mets defeat the White Sox tonight 4-2.
Well, if this is the way the Mets are going to end July, maybe August is going to be a great month for them. Conforto stays hot with a big hit. Ramos got on base to start that inning. Frazier with a big hit. And DeGrom was as good as he's always been.
15 more strikeouts for the Mets pitching staff, including 11 for DeGrom. He gets a no decision, but the Mets get the win as they come up clutch in the 9th inning. And Diaz, despite giving up the home run, strikes out 3 to get the save as the Mets get within 3 games of 500 with their 6th consecutive victory, their longest winning streak since the early part of last year. For every Mets win, the Mets organization is proud to contribute $2,500 to Northwell Health and the Cass Institute for Women's Health. For more information, visit northwell.edu/cats. This win brings the total contribution so far this season to $130,000. Another victory formation for the Mets, and congratulations for Diaz for getting back on the horse. 4-2 Mets win. We'll be right back to Chicago.